Time is approximately forever.
Cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Disconnected.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the New Hampshire Primary live stream. I'm back. We're ready to go. We got results coming in 5 minutes from now. We should be. That is when the first set of polls close. Some results will be reported after the 8 o'clock hour. But Donald Trump is looking for another statement victory in New Hampshire. We will see if he gets one tonight. This is probably going to be the most competitive primary state that we have yet to see so far, mainly because of the fact that New Hampshire is an early state where Nikki Haley has been spending tens of millions of dollars trying to get Democrats to vote for her in this primary. Maybe not registered Democrats, but Democrat voters who will vote for Joe Biden basically no matter what in a general election. There's been a lot of crossover voting, including the first results tonight, or last night, I should say, that came out of Dixville Notch, which they do the midnight voting tradition. They vote before anyone else does. They report their results before anybody else does, as is tradition. They also used to do it, I believe, with Hart's location. I don't know what happened there, but Nikki Haley got all 6 votes, but Donald Trump did not get a single vote in that town in the 2020 general election. Any actual Republicans basically have moved out of there. The only vote in the 2020 Republican primary in this location there, the Dixville Notch, was actually a write-in vote for Michael Bloomberg. So either way, these are Joe Biden voters that are voting for Nikki Haley. They don't represent the entire state, but still, when more votes do come in, if they tend to be more Republican, as they should, well, Donald Trump's going to be in a very good position to win. And I'm not moving the goalposts when I say this, because I've said it all along. Any Donald Trump victory tonight is a victory for him. Because if you can't win New Hampshire, you're not going to win anywhere else, given all the resources, given the fact that it's an open primary. It will be over for Nikki Haley if she does not win, period. She might be delusional. She might stick around. At least DeSantis did the right thing and dropped out. Still hasn't really stopped him from taking a couple of drive-by shots at Trump here and there. But nevertheless, this is Donald Trump's chance to make a statement if he wins by anything more than 10, 15. Can he do it? I believe he can. I absolutely believe that he could go out there, put on a solid performance. I don't anticipate a 80-20 beatdown. But can he crack 60%? If he does, it's going to be a very good night for him. I predicted he'd get in the mid to high 50s, mainly because of the fact that you have early votes for people like DeSantis, people like Vivek, people like even Chris Christie, even though those early votes likely hold back Haley in the state of New Hampshire. But this is her last chance. This is the last chance of the Republicans. If they can't win New Hampshire, the Republican establishment, then it's over. Trump is officially the nominee. No questions asked. It seems like it's already been over for a long time, but it gets even more over, and then it goes to the next level of over. So we're 2 minutes away from polls closing in the state of Iowa. So it's definitely going to be a very fun night. Hopefully it will be a very fun night, but we have 2,500 people in chat already. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Can we hit 160K on stream? That would be ideal. I don't know if we'll get there, but we're getting close. We're knocking on the door. So make sure you guys like the stream. If you want to use the live chat, remember, you have to subscribe to the channel in order to do so. So we'll see. But we have exit polls, and a lot of people were freaking out about them, but they're not even that egregious. I mean, they show that a majority of voters believe that Biden is not a legitimate president, which bodes well for Donald Trump. They also show that 50% roughly say they're a supporter of the MAGA movement. And if you want to look at the Iowa polls, Donald Trump, I mean, he was even getting a chunk of the voters who said that they were not a part of it. So he likely is going to clear 50. By what percentage point does he clear 50 by? That's a whole nother situation. We'll be monitoring it all night. We'll also be getting to your super chats because we have a couple seeking findings. Says, don't forget to like and share this. So true. Quantum Football says, would DeSantis or Vivek make a better attorney general? Well, I don't believe that Vivek is an attorney, so I don't think he'd be considered for that role. And DeSantis, I highly doubt he's going to be in Trump's administration, at least in that capacity. I think you can look to a wide variety of sources for who the best cabinet members are, but I'm going to be doing a video on that probably within the next month or so, because we're going to have a lot of questions. Who's his running mate going to be? Because he's going to be the nominee. Tonight will cement it, hopefully. But even if he loses tonight somehow, he's still going to be the nominee. We know that. But in terms of who is his running mate's going to be, there's a lot of questions about that. Everybody loves talking about it. Who's going to be in his cabinet? That's the next step. He's got to win first, but I don't think it would really be a bad thing to sit back here and speculate it, because it's got a very, very good chance at happening. So Robert says, was for DeSantis rooting for Trump tonight? Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. And that's what we need to do. We need to unite the party. The average DeSantis influencer is not representative of the average Ron DeSantis primary supporter or primary voter, who I have disagreements with. I think that their votes are, for misleading reasons in many cases. I've talked with many of them. I've converted many of them over to Donald Trump. But still, you have a lot of these insufferable people in the influencer class who are holding out their endorsements. And honestly, it's like they don't really make up enough of the primary electorate in the real world to do anything. They could all vote for Joe Biden and go campaign for Joe Biden. It probably would help us because they're so insufferable. But they don't represent the majority of the people that supported DeSantis in the primary. And if anything, they turned away large portions of people who would have voted for DeSantis over Trump in the primary with the way that they acted, with their smugness. You know, it's funny because these are the same people that said, no, the polls are all wrong. You know, they're going to be off by 35 points. We're doing everything right. You're doing everything wrong. When you get into that mindset, it's not a good thing. You have to view things objectively. And because you had a lot of smug individuals in some of these other campaigns, and it's plenty more campaigns than just the DeSantis campaign. I mean, even in 2022, you saw on both sides of the Republican coin certain campaigns that were a little smug and were unwilling to really correct course in some regard. They didn't end up doing so well as a result. And that's the problem. The polls aren't always wrong. They're not always right, but you can't say that they don't count whatsoever. And the same thing goes for the outlier polls. These are the same people that will cling to the poll today that had Trump down by 8 in Pennsylvania. But we've seen dozens of polls that have Trump leading these states, and that one poll has Trump underrunning Dave McCormick, so I think it should probably be thrown out. But either way, I'd want to see more polling out of these states before we make a judgment. That poll still had like 20% undecided or so I wouldn't say that it's, or at least like 15, so I wouldn't say that it's binding. But let's see. Mitchell Ryan says, did you hear about the Democrats trying to replace Biden with Michelle Obama? Kind of nervous because there are polls saying she would win. Well, I wouldn't worry about that because I don't believe it's going to happen. We've heard this talk for quite some time. We've heard, oh, well, they're going to replace Biden with Newsom. They're going to replace him with Harris. They're going to replace him with, now it's Michelle Obama. It's not going to happen. I mean, I highly doubt she runs for political office. And if she does, it probably is going to be sometime like 2028, maybe 2032. I don't know. But I just don't believe that they would do that because there's so many things that could go wrong replacing a candidate, even as unpopular and as hated as Joe Biden is. You know that if you replace somebody at the 11th hour, getting a campaign off the ground takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of dirt on Michelle Obama that it doesn't really get talked about. The whole, oh, I'm a first lady, I'm apolitical type of image. It doesn't really hold up in reality. Boston Elevators and Aviation says thoughts on Pete Hoekstra as the new Michigan GOP chair. Well, now there's two chairs because the old chair still thinks that she's chair. And I think that Hoekstra knows how politics works, and by proxy, he's going to be an upgrade. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what exactly is going to come of this. There's still a lot of infighting. When is the RNC nationally going to step in? When are they going to settle this debacle that's going on? There's all these questions. But I like Hoekstra. He did lose by a lot in 2012, but nobody was really going to topple Stabenow. He was just the sacrificial lamb at the time, and it was not really a good year for Senate Republicans overall, but he's been in Michigan politics for a very long time. He knows what he's doing compared to some of these other people, and at least he can fundraise. I mean, let's be real, that was their number one problem. Patriot 345 says, how about them Lions? So true, so true. We'll see what happens this Sunday, but I'm looking forward to it. M says, who do you think will replace Sununu for New Hampshire's governor's race? I think it's going to be Ayotte, but we'll have to see. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a race that Trump should win in the primary here. And there's the Democrat primary. Biden is a write-in candidate because he did not put his name on the ballot because they're not recognizing the primary because they wouldn't move the primary. Because apparently New Hampshire, they don't like New Hampshire being first in the nation because New Hampshire happens to be too white, and they don't like that. So now they're punishing New Hampshire. They're making the primary not matter. Biden is not even on the ballot. He probably wins based off of a write-in, but you never know how it's going to shake out. And also they're basically telling Democrats who are not registered Democrats to go vote in the Republican primary. So we'll see what happens. It's not going to be a good look for Biden optically, but is it really going to make a difference? Probably not. So we're still waiting on results. Polls closed 5 minutes ago. Let's see. Stephen Kanizik says, well, the DeSantis influencers really went insane since Ron dropped with all this burn it down stuff. Perhaps Biden is paying them instead of Ron. Well, I mean, I agree. The only people that are holding out tend to be anonymous accounts or people who are obviously just mentally deranged, and there's very few of those. But these accounts that are going out there and they are, still saying, well, Trump should drop out and endorse. That's a new line. Trump should drop out and endorse DeSantis when DeSantis already dropped out and endorsed Trump. It's like these people are just unhinged. They're straight off of the mental ward. Why would Trump drop out and endorse somebody that not only got 20% in Iowa after spending all of their eggs in that basket, not only is trailing behind Nikki Haley in literally every single other state, but also polls worse against Biden than Trump does. So either way, these people don't live in the real world. I don't believe they represent the majority of Ron DeSantis primary supporters or voters. And if they all voted for Biden, I don't think that Donald Trump would really struggle because of that. I really don't, because clearly they weren't able to move the needle in the primary unless the needle was being moved away from Ron DeSantis. What makes you think that these people are really going to make a difference when there's only a few hundred of them at all, and most people on the right, on the left, dunk on them relentlessly? So Sam Madsen says, would Evers have lost if Trump was on the ballot, and what would Ron John have won by? Well, I think Johnson would have outran him by a few points, regardless of wherever Trump would get. Let's say Trump wins by 1. I think Johnson wins by like 4 or 5. I think Evers, could he lose? I mean, it's possible. Like I said, governors' elections tend to be a little bit more malleable. Michaels was not really all that strong of a candidate overall, but who knows? I think he probably would maybe run even with Biden, maybe a little bit ahead even. All New Year 2024 says, if there was a dark MAGA party, would you join it? No, because we have a two-party system here. That's what this is, with very few exceptions. You're not going to see a third-party candidate come close. And the Republican Party has many flaws, but I think it's salvageable. And I think we have to live in reality. When the 2020 election fallout took place, a lot of people talked about creating a third party, but it just never would work. It just never would. Whether people think that that's a good thing or not, this is a two-party system. If you talk about a different system of government where coalitions kind of rule the day, it'd be a little bit different. You look at, countries like Canada, countries in Europe, third parties can thrive there. There's no shame in voting for third parties in those places because they do have more pull, because they can affect the way that the government is run. But we don't exactly have that. But we do have primaries, which we can use to shape the way the party goes. We could put pressure on even the party leaders to act in a certain way. That's why Donald Trump kind of rose to prominence, because there was that need. There was that need for that void of somebody who represented the grassroots right instead of these old guard, country club Reaganite type of individuals. So let's see. Dilly Bod says, watching MSNBC a few seconds ago, they're pushing Haley. Of course they're pushing Haley. They're going to have a meltdown. And it proves that the Democrats in the media, they're not trying to prop up Donald Trump. They don't want Donald Trump to be the nominee. If so, they wouldn't be pushing Nikki Haley so hard. If so, Democrat leaders wouldn't be trying to get Nikki Haley across the finish line in New Hampshire. They wouldn't be. It proves that Trump is the more electable choice, and they know that they likely are going to struggle to beat him with Biden, so they're trying to beat him with Nikki Haley instead. And is it going to work out? No, it's not. Mike Oxhard says, Haley winning big right now. Well, if you consider a 6 vote dump of people that voted exclusively for Joe Biden a big win, well, I mean, there you go. It can be your consolation prize. She can pretend to be the winner for I don't know, maybe 5 minutes from now when they put results in, possibly sooner. But we don't have any candidate data available from the exit polls so far. We can compare it to 2016 as the results come in. Keep in mind, there were 284,000 votes in the Republican primary back in 2016, but there likely will not be nearly that many this time around, because there were a lot less resources spent on New Hampshire, because turnout should be lower, because this is mainly a two-person race where the front runner is loud and clear, and it's Donald Trump. It's nobody else. So we'll have to see what happens as the results come in. But as of right now, I wouldn't take anything into account when it comes down to the results. Some people are saying that there are more results pouring in so far on, let's see. Okay, there are more results, and Haley did expand the lead because 19% of Concord comes in. Concord, so far, is voting for Nikki Haley. Concord in 2016, we can't exactly see where it is, but Concord did probably narrowly go for Trump, but Trump didn't get that 38% threshold in Concord. Concord is the capital of New Hampshire. Chris Sununu lives there. He's got a lot of pull. And Trump gains significantly with Laconia. Donald Trump with 62% of the vote in Laconia, which he only got 32% of the vote there in 2016, and he underran his total. But so far in Laconia, Donald Trump with a sizable lead so far. So it's still early, but what it shows is that you look at this, the people that are voting for the candidates that dropped out, they're not really making a dent. They're not making a dent at all. DeSantis only 0.9% of the vote so far. Haley gains as she gets votes in from Lebanon, or Lebanon, I believe. I don't know how it's exactly pronounced, but Lebanon, that is a place that I believe also, it voted for John Kasich in 2016. So she's winning places that voted for John Kasich. There's not a lot of them. I will say that there's not a lot of them, but she has a lead so far, but it's likely not to last. And that we know. We still don't have any exit polling data so far. Do we have exit poll data? We do not have exit poll data by candidate, so we're still waiting on that as well. But 2% of the primary vote is in. Nikki Haley has a 400 vote lead. Will that hold up at the end of the day? Probably not. But let's check the Democrat side, where Joe Biden is leading the rest of the field, 75-21. Dean Phillips with 21% of the vote so far in New Hampshire. This is the last stand for the neocons, for those just tuning in. Will Nikki Haley pull off the upset in New Hampshire? It's probably not likely, but they want it to happen. They want it to happen badly. They want to revive her campaign. The only votes that are in so far are mainly from Haley strongholds. Concord in 2016, if we could pull this up, it's one of these cities over here, I believe. It did, I believe, vote for Trump, but it voted for Trump by just 6 points over John Kasich. He only got 28% of the vote there. He's getting 40% of the vote so far in Concord. Dover right here, Haley with a narrow lead in Dover. Dover did narrowly, it seems like it narrowly backed Trump as well, but then Donald Trump gets a big vote dump out of Claremont. Donald Trump gets a big vote dump out of Claremont, which is a city that voted for him by 23 points. He had voted for him this time apparently by close to 40. So Donald Trump so far, he's not doing too bad. Let's check the needle. We don't have a needle yet. But so far, 2% of the vote is in. Haley does have a small lead, but keep in mind, folks, a lot of this does come from Haley strongholds. This is not like Republicans have to worry a whole lot about this, but we have to see. DeSantis so far is not affecting the race. Seems like anybody who voted did tend not to vote super early. It seems like, Donald Trump at least is galvanizing their support as well. So we'll have to see. But 2% of the vote is in. Let's check the live stream. Here we go. Stingray says a Newsmax reporter said they were telling Democrats that want to vote for Haley to just write her name in and it will be I don't know if that's accurate. I don't think that's how it works, because that would be on the Democrat side and they would not count that for the Republican side. Jason Christie says, "Whoa, Haley's winning. I knew Trump was uneluctable." I'm kidding, by the way. Yeah, I mean, we know this. Even like Manchester was one of Trump's stronger areas in the state. He got 37% of the vote there, and that's a big population dump. Like, there's nothing in from Manchester. There's nothing in from a lot of these places. The only places that have votes are mainly just early votes for Nikki Haley. That's all we have, and she's up by not even 1% of the vote. So either way, it's like, yeah, have at it. Have fun while it lasts. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll see when Donald Trump takes the lead. But is he going to win by like 30? No, I mean, that was never in the cards, but we'll see how much he wins by. He took the lead. Donald Trump has taken the lead. 3% of the vote is in. Votes out of Manchester. Trump beating Haley in Manchester. If that margin holds up in Manchester, this is over. But it's not over yet. We're still counting votes, but he has a 2-point lead. Donald Trump has taken the lead in New Hampshire so far, and he's not only facing a Republican primary field, he is facing a Republican primary field that has been infiltrated by Democrats. and he's still winning by 4 percentage points as more votes come in, I believe, out of Laconia. More votes, or even Concord. That might have been a second vote dump from Concord. He gained, but so far he's up by 4. So we'll monitor it. We're going on offense right now. There still are some places that are remaining that will likely benefit Haley, but there's a lot more places remaining that will benefit Donald Trump. So we'll see. The goal is to win, but ideally you win by double digits. You win by close to 20, but there's a lot of votes left that have yet to be tabulated. So let's see. John Waffle says when Haley drops out, that should be the end of the neocon establishment. Money needs to be funded against them. They should also be banned from the convention. Unmasked Florida says check out the Flynn documentary coming out in April, Trump Flynn 2024. All right, Jason Christie, I think we read that one, but he said, whoa, Haley's winning. I knew Trump was uneluctable, which, yeah, he's winning now. So it's not going to last. I told people it wouldn't last, and so far, seems like I was right. It has not lasted. So far, we got a long way to go. Is the needle in? The needle is not in. But either way, Donald Trump so far not doing poorly given the places that have been in so far, the places that have been tabulated. And when it comes down to it, we'll have to see how the votes come in. Nashua, I don't know how you pronounce that, but there's a lot of votes in there that benefited Donald Trump in the 2016 primary. There's still some places upstate that voted for Kasich that I wouldn't be surprised if Haley wins, but now Trump's lead expands to 8% of the vote. 8% lead so far for Donald Trump as more votes come in out of Hillsborough. Donald Trump is winning at 65-35, and Hillsborough, if we could pull this up, there's just so many little towns I can't even pin it down, but Hillsborough so far, which is west of Concord, a little bit southwest of it, but so far it is voting for Trump by more than it voted for him by in 2016. Not even close. He got 42% of the vote there, which is a good performance. But this time he won it 64-35. All of the votes are in. So we'll see how the votes shake out in terms of the totals as we go on. But now Trump leads by close to 10. He leads by close to 10 as more votes come in. Sanborn, I believe, or however you pronounce that city. I mean, there's a lot of names in here that I don't know because there's hundreds of towns. A lot of them have old English names or names with certain influences that I just can't pronounce. But Trump won it 62-38. All of the votes are in out of Sanborn. Trump won it by 21 points last time around. He's winning it by 24 points in a full field today. Let's see. 666 King Drummer says, I heard a rumor that if Nikki Haley lost, she'd be interested in having the fast food investing in the fast food industry with her secret lover, but someone had to convince her there's already a place called In-N-Out. Crunchkey says, as soon as Trump took the lead, my house started to shake here in New Jersey. Must mean Chris Christie isn't taking this well. True. Alastair says, greetings from the Great Britain, Trump 2024. Let's go. Jason Christie says, I don't know why I have a gut feeling Trump will pick off one of the blue states he's been targeting. Could be wrong, though. Well, it's possible. We'll see. And then Christopher Laurie for 5 says, you think Haley is dumb enough to stay in until the convention? Well, she'd be doing herself a disservice, but as more time went on, she'd just be embarrassing herself. So, more votes in out of Concord. Haley up by 11 in the city, but that is not supposed to be one of Trump's strong points. So have at it. That's where Chris Sununu's at. That's where she's been campaigning relentlessly. But still Donald Trump with a sizable lead, and the entire capital city is almost in. So, you know, he's doing pretty well so far. We'll watch how Manchester shakes out. We'll monitor the later returns in places like Dover, places like Nashua. Scrubber says, I loved your well-informed commentary, MAGA. Well, thank you. We have 5,000 people. We have more people watching this stream than we had during the Iowa stream, believe it or not, which that stream was huge. So make sure you guys like the stream. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Some networks are calling it for Donald Trump already. so far. Also, shout out to Jeff for sending 50 on Cashapp. Shout out, Jeff. All right, so here we go. 53 to 47 so far for Donald Trump. He is in the lead, and now the lead narrows a little bit. More votes came in. More votes came in out of Portsmouth. I believe Portsmouth was a very strong anti-Trump place in 2016. They combined for 73% of the vote against him, but so far Portsmouth, 23% of the vote is in. Trump is trailing by a lot. It's not super surprising, but who knows? That could be one of the more liberal precincts in Portsmouth. So we still have a long way to go. Networks are calling it for Trump. I'm not ready to call it yet because we want to be 100% sure, but it seems as if Trump is going to win this. The question is by how much is he going to win this? Doug says New Hampshire has the biggest legislature. That is true. They have like hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of seats there. I don't know if there's more seats there than there are in the U.S. House, but they have hundreds. For a state that's that small, it's surprising that they do. Mike Oxard says it's time they call New Hampshire for DeSantis. He will win. Yeah, average. The DeSantis leftover mafia is what I call them. The people that just do nothing but trash Trump all day because they're miserable. And they don't even represent the majority or even like close to a portion of the DeSantis electorate that we saw in Iowa or that would exist anywhere else. Sam Madsen says Wasserman called it. We know that, but it's like I don't want to call it just yet. We're going to see. I'll call it when the New York Times call it. I usually like to wait until a few networks call it before we do. We don't want to call it and then have it blow up in our faces and get embarrassed or whatever, but it is true Trump's going to win. I mean, Wasserman calls it. He's not one usually to get things wrong all that often, but the Democrat primary, let's check in on that. Biden's still with 3/4 of the vote there in terms of the unprocessed write-ins. Dean Phillips, there are talks about him running as a third-party candidate. Will that happen? We have yet to really see, but 5% of the vote is in so far in New Hampshire. Make sure you guys like the stream. Let's get to 2,000 likes. Make sure you guys subscribe. Let's get to 160,000 subscribers during tonight's stream. Donald Trump with opening up a 9-point lead over Nikki Haley. We're getting closer. Hit that subscribe button if you want to use live chat, by the way. But yeah, Donald Trump winning by a lot. More votes are coming in from red areas, and a lot of the places that voted for Trump substantially or over represented the total for Trump in the 2016 primary. Those places tend to be the places that haven't really put a lot of votes in so far. Even places like, that are going for Haley, like Newmarket, these are places that undershot his total compared to the state average. So Donald Trump is winning. If Haley can't win New Hampshire, nobody's winning a state against Trump this cycle. Not a single person can oust Trump in the primary. There's not one. And you have a lot of Democrats crossing over. That's why this is even remotely close. It's a valid excuse because these people aren't going to vote for Donald Trump at the end of the day. Really says nothing about Donald Trump's overall electability that he's struggling in New Hampshire, given how many voters identify as liberals, how many voters identify as Biden voters even. I mean, this is the way it goes. Iowa, you had Republicans voting, and even then, you had a lot of late-minute registrations, and that's why Haley was able to do even as well as she did there. But still, even with all of the resources and everything put in, Nikki Haley at 46.2% of the vote. And apparently, I don't know how accurate this is, but they're showing no votes for anybody else. I don't know how that is, given the fact you have a lot of candidates that are no names, but they're still in the race technically, like Ryan Binkley. He's in the race, but he doesn't have a single vote yet. I don't know if that's going to change or not, or if they're just only reporting votes from the top 3 candidates, but either way, Trump is leading Haley. Trump has got 53% of the vote. That's more of the vote than he got in Iowa. Granted that there are a lot fewer candidates left in the race, but still, people need to understand that a lot of the voters that are voting for Nikki Haley, they never supported Trump. They never will support Trump. They voted for Biden. Many of them probably voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. But when you don't have a Democrat primary, Democrats have been instructed to be independents in terms of the registration and then go out there and vote for Haley because they want to stop Trump. At least they want to embarrass him, try to, throw something at Trump while they're lying down on the ground. Just like on their way out, they want to get a little moral victory, knowing that it's not really going to change anything, but we'll have to see. But as of right now, it seems like that moral victory's not there. Could Donald Trump end up winning by a narrower margin than expected? Yeah, but he's going to win the primary. He's going to win the primary. There's no doubt about that. And this is going to be his weakest state. So he needs to win. He needs to beat Haley. And to do so, he's going to have to deal with an electorate that is majority not registered Republican in a state that went for Joe Biden by 7 points. So that's what he's up against. But so far, so good. He's doing pretty well. He's winning by 6.2%, and that's with a lot of these Democrat areas already in. Manchester, he actually expanded his lead in Manchester. And you have Concord almost all the way in. He's within single digits in Sununu town, Sununu territory. Some of these places over east are probably not going to bode so well for him, but either way, that was kind of expected. Conway, Trump lost Conway, which is 90% in. Conway gave him only 32% of the vote statewide in 2016. He got 35% of the vote statewide. So it seems like the counties that had him undershooting his total, they're the ones that are a little bit more competitive. But Farmington, he won Farmington by a lot. He won Rochester. There's still a lot coming in Rochester, but Farmington, he won by 600 votes. He got 72% of the vote there. And I don't know where it is on the map. I think it's somewhere over here. It's somewhere on the border. Okay, yeah. He got 43%. So that's always been a more Trump-leaning precinct than the statewide. But still, he's putting up decent numbers so far. So let's see if we have any more super chats, which I'm sure we do. And we do. Alistair says, when will Nikki Haley throw the towel in? Well, if she's going to be getting above 40%, I think she stays in until South Carolina, which will have more fun at her expense. But if she can't win South Carolina, she needs to throw the towel in. I mean, Trump's going to win Nevada by a ridiculous margin. There's no questions about that. So, yeah, she should throw the towel in, which brings us to the next super chat from Mavdick96 saying, do you think Nimrod will drop out after New Hampshire? Well, I think she should. There's no business to be in this race, but like I said, because she's not getting absolutely decimated, because she's got Democrats voting for her, if she stays above 40, which I think that maybe she will at this point, I don't see her dropping out. She'll claim a moral victory, even though it's not a victory. Trump won it. The momentum is still behind Trump in the eyes of a lot of people. If he survived Haley in New Hampshire, this isn't really going to give her a boost ahead of South Carolina, where in a two-person race, she's going to be lucky to get 30% of the vote in South Carolina, even though she was governor there. She's despised by a lot of the electorate. Now Trump's lead expands to 7.3%. He is now in the mid-50s. One could say, because he's got over a third into the 50s, 53.3, and more votes are coming in from places like Belmont. Belmont gave Trump 66% of the vote. So can we check the exit polls? Do we have any exit polling data? It does not seem like we do in terms of the exit poll data by candidates, but still, Trump so far in the lead. Haley, she's hung around a little bit longer than I think a lot of people may have anticipated her to, but still, I mean, let's just be real. Horizon Bear says it's suburban white women that are voting for her. I mean, that is largely true. Suburban is a little bit iffy because the rural-urban suburban divide is a little bit of a gray area in a place like New England overall. But still, Sam Madsen says, looks like we just picked up a seat in the New Hampshire State House in a special election. Nice. Well, here's the deal with the special elections. Like, it's good to win them, of course, but every time someone overperforms, that's all you hear about. And every time somebody underperforms, oh, we're doomed in 2024 because somebody, like, even though the people running like overperformed Trump or whatever, they still claim, oh, it's over. It's over. We can't win because we didn't win this special election by 20 points. It's like, that's not how politics works. Anthony says, who do you think will be Trump's Secretary of State? I really have no idea. I mean, I've heard rumors that it'd be somebody like Rick Grinnell, which I'm not entirely thrilled about, but I don't know if that's going to hold up. But also, do you think Michelle Obama will come into the race? Do you think she can win? Great job tonight. I'll say this again. I've said it plenty of times. I do not believe that Michelle Obama is going to run for president. I think we would have seen it by now. We would have seen it in 2020, where the Democrat field was already so weak as it is. And I think that they're just delusional to the point where they're going to ride with Biden. They think they can do their midterm election strategy in 2024 and have it pay off for them, not realizing that that's not why they overperformed expectations in 2022. So let them have at it. Let them have at it. Let them have Biden be their nominee. They're going to want Biden as their nominee because they probably would have had to have him step down by now, or they wouldn't be running him in their primary already, knowing because the window is closing in. The window's closing unless there's some health issue that's more serious than whatever health issue that Biden actually has right now. Biden's probably going to be fine in terms of his ability to be the nominee, and I don't think he's willing to step away himself either. So I don't believe that they're going to replace him. This is the same line of talking we heard before 2020. Oh, Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee. They're going to replace Biden at the convention. It's like, no, they're not going to do that. And I don't believe that they would be successful in winning if they did replace Biden. So maybe we should be secretly rooting for them too. I don't know. But either way, Biden's a sure thing in terms of being a candidate that we know is weak. That doesn't mean that the election's guaranteed, but what it does mean is that it's unlikely for him to end up winning the election. As of right now, a lot of things can change, but yeah, okay, we have a needle. We do not have a needle. We're still waiting on that needle to fill out and where the votes remain. We don't have any estimates yet, but so far, it seems like Trump is going to win this primary. The real question is by how much, and they may try to take a moral victory if Haley gets in the 40s or the mid-40s even, but either way, it's not going to make much of a difference at the end of the day. Okay, Anthony says, okay, we already did that one. Andrew Mortensen says Trump is going to make the next bird go extinct in New Hampshire. Hashtag bird brain sucks. Yeah. I mean, that's why she's losing. She has an electorate that should be a slam dunk for her, and she can't even come within 5, probably not even within 10 when all the votes are tabulated. I mean, the network's already been called. I mean, the race has already been called by some networks. It's been called by Dave Wasserman. I'm still waiting for the New York Times to call it. But either way, it's like, yeah, all the energy they spent against Trump just to get 40% of the vote against him in the New Hampshire primary, which only has 22 delegates to begin with. It's like, seriously? Like South Carolina, when you hit South Carolina and Haley gets embarrassed in her home state, which even if she loses by 1 inch, she doesn't get any delegates in. So it's kind of pointless. It's winner take all. If Trump wins South Carolina, he takes every single delegate with him. It's going to be brutal if Haley stays in past that point. But she very may well might, because I think she would rather weaken Trump than just get on board and unite with him at a point where it would be politically advantageous for her to. So that's the way it is. Farrell Trump Jesus says, is Obama running the bureaucracy? Well, a lot of the same people that were running the bureaucracy when he was president are currently running the bureaucracy. He's probably just, I don't know, on an island somewhere doing who knows what. But I don't think that like, oh, Obama's pulling the strings. It's like, no, there's an order. There's an order that we know. I mean, it's just the deep state in general. It's not Obama. It's not even Biden. It's a coordinated thing that's been there for a very long time. That's the swamp. That's what it is. It's the swamp, the uniparty swamp. I mean, Obama's a part of it. I'm not saying he's not, but he's not pulling the strings behind everything Biden's doing. There's a big network out there, and we know a lot of Republicans in Congress fall victim to the same exact agenda. It's the uniparty establishment is what it is. And Biden just the puppet. He's the puppet. And probably he's not going to be the puppet for very much longer if Donald Trump can go out there and win the election. So we'll see. Let's see. Vociferon says, Red Eagle, you rock, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Moot the Cat says, Maytag blue cheese is the cheese of patriots. In the name of MAGA, enjoy this delicacy to encourage glory on all election nights. Well, thank you for the advertisement, I guess. So 13% of the vote is in. Trump's lead is 7.3% over Nimrata Birdbrain Haley. But we have a long way to go, so make sure you guys like this stream. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them in via Super Chat. I will get to them at some point during the stream, possibly sooner than later because of the fact that results typically take a long time to report. Alistair says, I love all of the British names in New Hampshire. Well, given the fact that you sent a donation in pounds, I'm sure you do. Captain Beefheart says Christie has more votes than Binkley. Really? Okay, now they're reporting votes in. Okay. Yeah, he has 9 votes. Binkley has 6. Well, Christie put all of his eggs in the New Hampshire basket. It doesn't surprise me that he has some votes. Let's see. Austin Nelson says Nimrata H-1B visa Hillary Haley will not be able to curry the flavor of New Hampshire. Sad. So true. So true. I mean, she got showed out by Vivek, and it's funny because you have somebody, she goes by her middle name because it's more Americanized, Nikki, but she got completely destroyed in every single debate by some guy named Vivek Ramaswamy. So true. I mean, it's funny. And then she's going to go out there and play the woke card. Oh, I was made fun of every day because they called me brown, they called me names, and it's like, first of all, you don't really look all that brown. Second of all, seriously, like where was this rhetoric when you were running for governor of South Carolina? It's all to appeal to these woke, independent type of liberal voters in the state of New Hampshire. That's what she appeals to. She is George W. Bush on steroids and heels mixed with Hillary Clinton. And as a result, she's losing. She's a horrible candidate. She's awful. I don't know who the hell Glenn McPeters is, but he just leapfrogged Mike Pence, Doug Burgum, and Ryan Binkley there on the screen. That's pretty funny. Let's see. Jared Walsh says other write-ins is in New Hampshire Dem primary, and Joe still has 0 votes. What's going? Well, all the write-in votes are for Biden. They're just not entirely tabulated just yet. But any votes that are write-ins, Biden's winning most of those votes. He's winning most of them because he told people to write him in, but he's at 0 because when they haven't processed them, or when they process them, they should all or mostly come in for Biden. He's going to end up with like 70%. He probably would be doing a lot better if he was on the ballot, but he still probably wouldn't be getting over the 80% threshold. That's why Dean Phillips is actually not doing that poorly so far, and if he's able to peel off some of those voters and take them with him to no labels, then hey, why not? So Trump leads by 6 points. Let's check the map. Manchester is 37% in. Trump leads still in the city of Manchester. And now he expands his lead in Manchester, and also he expands his lead in the primary. Let's see. I think we're good on now for Super Chats. We got 15% of the vote reporting so far. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel as well. Based Cato says Cenk is trying to win via write-in. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few of the write-ins in New Hampshire, but it's like, why are you running for president when you weren't born here? You know you're not eligible. You learned this stuff in 2nd grade at the very latest. But still, the guy's a blowhard. The guy's an idiot. I mean, he's always been. He's one of the easiest targets to make fun of just based off of how much of a joke he is. So there you go. Parks and Places says America will collapse if the border isn't closed. Exactly. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And this is why I think that Biden is going to be in so much trouble, because they're doubling down on the border issue. They're basically going out there and saying Trump is the problem because his rhetoric is too mean. When in reality, you're letting the entire continent of South America into this country where you don't know who these people are, where they're coming from, what their criminal records are, what diseases they're bringing, etc. And you're just letting it happen. You're unwilling to secure the border at a time where even a majority of Democrats agree that you should build a wall, where a majority of Democrats disapprove of your border policy. This is a winning issue, and it's a good thing that Donald Trump is back, and he's not really softening the blow regarding immigration compared to even his 2016 campaign. And he's going out there and he's just laying down the way things should be. Yeah, we're going to deport all these people. We have to. They're coming across in the past 4 years. When you already have an economy that's in shambles for most people, at least they view it that way. Yeah, it's a major problem. The border's a massive issue. It's a massive issue. But instead, Nikki Haley and Biden, they care more about the borders of other countries halfway across the globe, instead of our own southern border. They want to send troops potentially to fight Russia with Ukraine, instead of actually just sending troops to secure our southern border and take these people and take them out of this country. I mean, could you imagine what's going to happen? I'm sure wages are declining in places like Texas because of that. I mean, you see an overflow. You see all these people pouring in at record numbers. You can't contain them all. On top of that, you have drugs pouring in like crazy, and that goes undetected. You have all these problems in middle America. I mean, immigration is not just about the people living on the border towns. It's about the entire country as a whole. And you know, even when these Republican governors try to own the libs, what are they going to do? They're going to bus these migrants further into the country. That's why I still will say that, and I said it back then too, before he ran for president against Trump, that the DeSantis stunt with sending all the migrants to Martha's Vineyard, it was dumb. It was going to backfire. It was just, we're going to own the libs. And it did, apparently. I think that some of them got to stay. Like, why not just find a way to deport these people, even at the state level? Like, what are you going to do? You could bus them there, but you can't bus them down to the border and have them escorted back into their own country? Seriously? You can't get that done? I mean, I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of the weakness and the excuses from all these establishment Republicans. But now Trump expands the lead as more votes come in. He expands it to 8%. Manchester is halfway in so far. We still don't have a needle. I don't know if we're going to get one tonight, but 16% of the vote is in. Exit polls. Do we have exit polls by candidate? Apparently still we do not have exit polls by candidate. Maybe on the CNN exit polls, which I don't really trust. I don't really like the CNN exit polls, but maybe they exist. So far in New Hampshire, do they have exit polling for New Hampshire? Exit polls have not been released yet, according to CNN. So, oh well. Let's see. We got more super chats in. Let's see. Parks and Places, already did that one. Tony says, didn't independent voters help Trump in 2016? If you're talking about in the primary, they did, but a lot of those people have since either A, registered as Republicans, or B, there were a lot of crossovers that early on they did support Trump from the Democrat side because they believed that he was easy to beat, although a lot of them did go for Kasich at the time as well. But people need to understand that Trump only got 35% of the vote there in 2016. Right now, he's getting in the mid-50s. So he's already improving substantially. He leads Haley by 8.1%. At the rate things are going, he might hit double digits. I don't know. It depends on where the votes are remaining in some of these places. Some of these places will benefit Haley for sure, but a lot of them that have not been reported are likely going to benefit Trump, so he could very well expand that lead to double digits and possibly even more from there. So Bus Driving Life 15 says Glenn Jacobs for VP. Goon Baboon says with Caroline Levitt saying Trump wants a successor for VP. Do you think she's just posturing or effectively confirms Trump or Vivek? I don't know. I think we hear people that say Trump wants this, Trump wants that. And you have a lot of people that are close to Trump saying certain things and they're conflicting. And then you have people that are not so close to Trump saying things that are conflicting. I don't know if he wants a successor. I think the successor may end up running against his VP in the 2028 primary. So we'll really just have to see what happens. Noah Boyd says, to be honest, Christie is a bigger target than Schenck. Well, of course. I mean, the guy is bigger than the state of New Hampshire. That's why he had to drop out. He couldn't fit on the ballot. Tony says Burgum for VP. I don't know. I don't really trust the guy given he's been involved at Microsoft and a lot of these things. And he seems like a decent guy and maybe there's a role in the cabinet for him. But in terms of his position to be VP, I don't know. And to be honest, VP is kind of a harmless role in and of itself. I mean, unless something happens to Trump, which you wouldn't want to happen anyways, and I think the country would pretty much be screwed either way if that's going to happen. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see regarding Trump's VP search. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions on it for sure. So still 16% of the vote is in the state of New Hampshire. We are waiting on more results to come in, more results to be tabulated. Apparently, according to the Associated Press, it is saying there's less than 25% of the votes that have been counted. It's not entirely as precise with the percentage that is in, but it seems as if the New York Times is actually a little bit behind. They actually have Trump up by 9, so it's possible in the ensuing vote dumps you're going to see Donald Trump gain a little bit as well in the New York Times section. So John Hancock says, can you do a video on swing states, vote by mail laws post-COVID, worried about another election week? Oh, we've been talking about it, and we're going to be talking about it even more. But I think that a lot of the laws are not going to be able to be changed. I mean, you saw remedial reforms in places like Georgia, and it is true that votes were counted a little bit faster in some places during the midterms compared to 2020, which is also a good thing, but still, yeah, we're going to have to beat it. We're going to have to use it to our advantage. Make no mistake about it. You got to get people voting early. You got to get people that can't attend the election day voting, maybe because they're too old. Well, yeah, places where ballot harvesting is legal, we need to harvest as many of our own ballots as possible. And that's what the Democrats have been doing. We've been complaining about it for years, yet we haven't really been able to go out there and kind of do it ourselves. And the few states and places where Republicans have made an effort to do so, they're actually doing very well in terms of recent elections, even when other Republicans have underperformed. It doesn't really matter if they tend to be more MAGA type of Republicans or whether they tend to be more establishment Republicans. The one thing is certain, if you have good mechanics, you're going to win. I think the Rust Belt states where Trump does uniquely well in, they've kind of fallen behind in terms of getting Trump's voters out to vote in the midterms. Even for candidates that they claim are more Trump aligned, they still aren't able to get out the same voters for one reason or another, and that's a problem. There's only one Donald Trump, so hoping that he can help carry Republicans in a lot of places, but we'll see. Sam Harrison says Israel or Palestine. Well, I don't support Palestine. I think that Israel has the right to defend itself from Palestine. At the same time, I believe that we need to put our own interests first, and we don't need blind allegiances to any other country in the world. I think that's the correct, nuanced take on the issue, and I think it's 100% true. So, yeah, I'm not going to support Palestine, which is not even a real country. I'm not going to sit back here and say we need to send troops to Israel or fund Israel with billions upon billions of dollars, which we've already been doing for years on end now either. So I think that we need the America first approach to foreign policy, and we need to do it across the board. I mean, Ukraine, Israel, all these conflicts. So that's that. I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. I'm not one to really support foreign aid, but I'm not going to cry about some politician because they happen to post a tweet saying that what, Palestine has done is like bad or whatever, because yeah, it is. I mean, whatever 10-7 was not a good thing. We know that. It's was a horrific act, but that doesn't mean that we need to throw all emotion out the window like so many people, including Nikki Haley, want to do and say America needs Israel. America's been around since 1776. Israel's been around since the 1940s. So saying that we need Israel to exist or that America needs Israel is kind of just objectively untrue. So now Donald Trump has expanded his lead to 10%. He's expanded his lead. He's doing well. 17% of the vote is in. Go Deese's 35 says Trump Tulsi, Trump Vivek, or Trump Tucker would all be great for America. Mark Robinson for North Carolina governor. Well, that last thing is certain that he's going to be the nominee. I don't know who Trump is going to pick for VP, but I think that those choices are all a little outlandish, whether we would like to see it happen or not. Tulsi is somebody that would be a little bit, should be a little bit of a wild card because she happened to be a liberal for many years and even endorsed Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential election. So I think she's kind of more of an uncertain figure. I think her in the cabinet would probably be more likely. I like Vivek, but if you have two Trumps on the ticket or two people with that same personality, is that a good thing? Is that going to add something to the ticket? Or is it just too much of a double down? I don't know. I like Tucker Carlson a lot. I think that in terms of his messaging, he can really relate to middle America, especially on the economic side of things. And he kind of maintains a lot of Trump's policy. He can kind of come off a little bit different in personality, which is good. But still, I don't think he'd want the position. I don't know if Trump would seriously consider him for it. I think that Tucker very well could run in the future, but is he going to really be Trump's VP? I just don't see any of those options being realistic. I think Vivek might actually be the more realistic option of those three, believe it or not. So let's see. Guna Boone says, do we love Carrie Lake or what? Jeff DeWitt got wrecked. Yeah, I mean, you got this guy. He's going out there and he's trying to bribe Carrie Lake not to run for Senate. He's on tape. He's the chairman of the Arizona Republican Party. He's trying to commit bribery, which that's not a good look for you in any circumstance if you're trying to bribe somebody not to run for Senate. I mean, seriously. And it's not like there were any candidates who were more electable or whatever, even by their own logic, that were going to run in the first place. So trying to bribe somebody with a job for years not to run, it's just a bad look overall. And you see a lot of people defending bribery, the same people that talk about principled conservatism or whatever. These are the same people cheering on bribery just because they have Lake derangement syndrome. I don't know. Noah Boyd says, thoughts on Tucker liberating Canada? I don't know what that exactly refers to. Grant Mandel says, what do you think about Zeldin or Ben Carson? I think both are viable options for VP. I think they're both probably on the short list. You see Trump doing a rally with Lee Zeldin in New Hampshire. He's campaigning for him already. That kind of proves that, hey, well, maybe Trump is going to sit back here and watch the crowd for like the VP thing. And I'm sure he did that with having people like Tim Scott there, people like Elise Stefanik or however you pronounce her name there. So overall, I think that all of these choices would be possible. I don't think any of them would hurt Donald Trump electorally, but I think he's just trying to really catch the vibe of who he would trust the most in that position or who he thinks would help him the most electorally. So I trust his decision. He's not going to pick Haley. He basically ruled that out. I don't think he's leaning towards Noam, at least nearly as much as he was. He said he has one frontrunner in mind that's probably even then like a 25% chance at really receiving the job. So we don't really know who his VP is going to be. I think it's fun to speculate, and I know people like it, which is why I'll continue to do it from time to time. But too much talk about it, I think, at this stage in the game, a little bit unproductive, but I'm not fully opposed to talking about it here and there. But Trump has expanded his lead to 10%. He's expanded it to 10% so far. Polite Rude Guy says, we do not want Vivek for VP, only Ben Carson for VP. Well, we is a little bit subjective, because the poll I put out on the channel last stream showed Vivek in the lead. Now, I do believe it's a very, I guess you would say it's a very divisive topic, even in these circles. When somebody picks a VP, somebody has 10 to 15 objections to that choice that they would rattle off. But regardless of whoever Trump picks, because I'm sure he's not going to do something like pick Haley, I think the base is going to be completely fine with it. So I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried about it in any way, shape, or form. So, okay, let's check. Do we have any more exit polling data? I don't believe we do. The AP is actually in line. They have the same results as the New York Times so far. And Donald Trump still maintains a lead of 10% of the vote. He's possibly near clearing the high 50s. Haley's down there at 44. Now, I will say in my prediction, while Trump's number is getting closer to where it was, I didn't think that you would see the support you see for Haley, in terms of the fact that I thought you'd see some votes going for Christie, some votes going for DeSantis. But apparently those candidates dropping out really didn't exactly affect the fact that people were voting for them beforehand. So either way, DeSantis got probably 0.6% of the vote. A lot of that would have gone to Trump. Make no mistake about it. These are probably people that either didn't know DeSantis dropped out, or they voted early, or whatever. But Trump with 54.2% of the vote so far. That is what we know. So let's see. More super chats. Okay, we have a lot of them. Polite Rude Guy says, please no women for VP. Goldman Sachs says Nikki will switch parties when Biden drops out. I think that that's unlikely to happen, but it would be funny if they made her the Democrat nominee. She may unironically be one of their best bets to beat Trump, because then you'll have, I don't know what, 10% of Republicans choose to defect, but even then Democrat turnout would be awful, and I think Trump would still beat her in a national head-to-head if you have a full campaign season. So there's that much to it. Let's see. No new results. Let me check the super chats. We have a lot more. Austin Lewis says we had 10 million illegals here in 2020. Now we have 10 million more. What do you think the real number of illegals is, double or triple? Yeah, it was not 10 million. It was 11 million per some reports. Some were double that. Let's just say it's in between. I think you got north of 20 million illegals currently living in this country. And I think it's a major, major problem. And what we need to do is we need to get them out. We need to deport them. We need to. They're here illegally. And I think now with the border crisis, I think a lot more people are open to the idea of mass deportations, because any country that doesn't hate themselves, any country that has a backbone, the first thing they would do when they see any illegal alien is just deport them on sight. And when you have that many, they need to be all deported. We did this back in the 1950s. It worked wonders under Eisenhower. It was one of his better moments from his presidency, which had a good deal of them. But still, we need to do that. We need to make sure that not only do we have to lower the number of legal immigrants that get admitted into the country every year, that should be a priority too. But I mean, first of all, when you have tens of millions of illegal aliens on our streets or in our country, they need to be physically deported. They should be. It's following the law. Following the law is now something that's a political topic of conversation. And it is the humane thing to do, because our country's duty is to its citizens. It's due to the people that lived here, that many of whom were born in this nation or went through an extraneous process in order to do so. So we have a duty to deport every single illegal alien that we possibly can. Let's see. Everyone's saying needle. Needle. Do we have the needle? We have the needle. 92% for Trump. 92%. Trump is expected to win by 12 points as of right now. They say there's a 8% chance Haley wins, which is not going to happen. but Trump has a 12-point victory forecasted on the New York Times so far. He currently leads by 9.1%. That lead is expected to grow for sure. So this effort to get all these liberals and Democrats voting for Nikki Haley, is it going to play out? It doesn't seem like it will. It doesn't seem like it's worked. And so far, more results are going to come in, and they're likely going to come in against Nikki Haley. Even the New York Times is admitting that right now. We're getting pretty close to calling this thing. And we have a major projection to make. The New York Times has projected Donald Trump the winner of the New Hampshire primary, and that also means that the Red Eagle Politics Decision Desk has projected Donald Trump the winner of the New Hampshire primary. They tried to get Democrats against Donald Trump voting in this thing. They tried to get Biden voters. They tried to get all these people, these liberal independents, but it doesn't matter. Donald Trump with another statement victory, likely of more than 10 percentage points when it's all said and done. Donald Trump goes 2 for 2 in the first two primary states, in the first two contests, and as a result, he cements himself even further as the 2024 Republican nominee, becoming the Republican nominee for basically 3 straight cycles. Haley likely stays in. She likely stays in until South Carolina, but honestly, it's more content. It makes for more content dunking on Haley. It's more fun. She's going to lose even more support after this, more likely than not. It's not momentum for Haley that she lost by double digits. She said at the start of the month she was going to win New Hampshire, and she didn't. But Donald Trump has won the New Hampshire primary, or at least he is the projected winner. So there you go. There you have it. Anyways, let's see what chat is saying. Chat is going crazy, I'm sure, right now. Let's see. Lillian Mae Briggs says, I would like Byron Donalds for VP, but I couldn't really say why. It's just a feeling. Well, I think Donalds would be a very good VP for Donald Trump, but he lives in Florida, and you can't really do that. I don't think Trump's changing his residency anytime soon. So anyways, guys, like the stream. Let's get to 3,000 likes. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Let's get to 160,000 subscribers. We are knocking on the door. We're knocking on the door. We got a couple hundred to go, but I think we're going to get there. We have 5,000 viewers in live chat. Like the stream, subscribe. Let's hit our goal. Anyways, Alistair says 1776. America's been around since 1607. Okay, you're British. Your opinion doesn't count. Okay. Richard Head says, go Lions, bring on the Santa Clara hippies. So true. Yeah, San Francisco, that's Nancy Pelosi's territory. That's her favorite football team. They hopefully go down on Sunday. Patriot 345 says, Concord all the way in. Haley only won by 7. Yeah, she's lost. It's over. John Waffle says, Johnson's terrible. He needs to be ousted. Look, I know he's not perfect, but you're not going to realistically oust him. And if you do, you're going to get somebody worse. I mean, this is the way it is. If Johnson didn't become the speaker, Tom Emmer would have became the speaker. Tom Emmer is worse than Kevin McCarthy. So while I do think that Johnson, he's a little too nice, and I think that that's not exactly a good thing, all this like revolving door of chaos is not the answer either. And maybe we reevaluate the speakership in a second Trump term, but Trump likes Johnson, and I think Johnson would be a very good speaker under a Republican administration, but he is kind of weak when it comes to the fact that he's not willing to shut down the country. But we saw what happened during the speakership votes. They're not willing to vote in anybody who would be willing to lock down or to shut down the government. So that's really what it comes down to. I think that Johnson has some bright spots. His voting record up until his speakership was pretty solid, but yeah, he is a little bit of a pushover at times. I agree. But I think the revolving door of chaos is not an option. It's just not. Austin Lewis says, I feel like if Biden wins again, which I hope he doesn't, I feel like we'll see quadruple more illegals come across the border from 2025 to 2029. Of course you will. Because when you get that second term, you get the mandate. If Donald Trump got the second term in 2020, A lot of the criticisms people will throw his way today would be out the window because he actually would have not cared about re-election. He would have done more positive things that was anticipated already by a lot of his supporters. They get memory hold by a lot of people who supported his primary opponents, namely those in the DeSantis campaign. But the DeSantis campaign is over, as evidenced by tonight and the fact that he formally suspended it a couple of days ago. So, let's see. Donald Trump, he now is supposed to win by 13. He's the winner. So they moved it up. Trump by 13, which would mean he gets 56.5% of the vote. So let's see. More super chats on the way. That it, guy, says Gorka said on an X space that the VP pick has already been made. A man, former politician from New York and on the campaign trail for Trump. It's Zeldin for sure. Well, I think Zeldin's on the short list, but I don't believe he's been selected behind the scenes. But I think he's on the short list. He is campaigning with Trump, but at the same time, Zeldin is not for sure going to be the VP. He could be the VP, but he's not officially chosen to be the VP. So we'll have to wait and see. The new cope is a slim majority, yeah. Oh, man, slim majority of the Republican electorate. They're not Republicans. They don't understand this. Most of the people voting for Haley are Biden voters. They're not Republican voters at all. They're independents who are going to vote for Biden or maybe third-party voters. They're not Trump's base. This doesn't prove that Trump is losing his base or he's losing his grip over his base. Like New Hampshire was the one chance they had to topple him, and they couldn't do it. He's going to win by 10. He could win by close to 15. They say a Trump plus 28 victory is still in the cards, but I don't realistically think that's going to happen. But he could win by more than 15. He could when it's all said and done, but he's going to likely win by more than 10. So Manchester 60%, and Trump expands his lead in Manchester. He does. He's outperforming his 2016 totals by like 20 points in nearly every single town. It's brutal. Shout out to Dirty Dog. Polite Rude Guy says Ben Carson was with Trump till the end. Loyalty. Yeah, Carson would function in the VP role very well because he wouldn't get in Trump's way. He's not like electorally off-putting per se. I think that he, I don't know what he exactly brings to the table other than the fact that, yeah, he's from Michigan, which is a good thing. He's not his residency, but he's from Michigan, which is a swing state that I think Trump would like to win. And even though it's not technically Carson's home state, I feel like a lot of people see it that way. So, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to Ben Carson. I think he'd be a good VP option. I think he'd be a good VP choice overall. So Jared Walsh says unprocessed write-ins has won it. Yeah, those are all for Biden. We know that. Apex Caliber says Pasobic says 10 cities ran out of Republican ballots. Well, either way, it doesn't matter because Donald Trump won. And yeah, they need to be prepared for it. They absolutely do. But 20% of the vote is in. We have 60,000. Like, a lot of votes are not even tabulated. We already have 60,000 votes total. You want to look at 2016. Is it possible we get higher than 2016 turnout when it's all said and done? It might be possible. It might be true. Dirty Dog says Kid Rock for VP thoughts. That's not going to happen. Coit Morrison says thoughts on Sarah Huckabee Sanders as VP. Also not going to happen because she's barely been governor. And I don't think he's going to pick somebody who's only been in office for a couple years and take them and put them on the ticket. ZX Hondo says, MAGA, thank you. Mike Oxhard says, from now on, will we call her Nikki or Nimrod Faley? Well, you can. I just think calling her Nimrada is the perfect name because that's her real name, and also she's a Nimrod. So, yeah, there you go. Godwin Simpson says, thoughts on Mazie Pilip and the New York special election? Well, Republicans are going to lose that regardless, and they're not running the best candidate either. They're running somebody who basically is running on their identity. and just running, oh, look at me, vote for me because I am black and I fought for the IDF or whatever. It's like, that's not going to win voters in and of itself. I mean, people need people that bring something to the table. Like if Donald Trump, for example, and I've said this, if he picks like Ben Carson for his VP, it's not a bad choice because he's good on the merits of it. But it's like, oh, this is going to win over black voters. No, it's not. I mean, most black voters are going to view any black Republican as a race traitor. And that's the way it is. You don't have to like that, but that's the way it is. You know, you'll get 10 to 15% of the black vote every time, usually, but the 85% that vote Democrat have been not so malleable for various reasons, and you're not going to change that by putting up a candidate just because of their ethnicity. And also, I believe she's like for no exceptions for abortion in a district that's like Biden +7. Like overall, she's just a train wreck of a candidate, and she's probably going to lose by a lot anyways, because when somebody's outed for a scandal in any congressional seat, and this is George Santos's old seat, by the way, if anyone's outed for scandal, the district swings in the other direction substantially. That's why even, I believe Anthony Weiner's seat was held by a Republican in deep, deep blue New York for a little bit of time back in like 2011. And that's precisely why. So overall, no, you know, just because you happen to run a campaign based off of your identity, which does not even relate to a super majority of that district, and those who it could relate to are not going to vote for you anyways, that's a bad look. You know, nominating a candidate who can't win because they take outlandish positions on issues is not a good look. And also, you're going to see the pendulum swing in the other direction anyway, so she probably goes out there, gets embarrassed, and then that's the end of her political career. So, let's see. More super chats here. Alistair says, what states will Trump add to his 2016 tally? Nevada. Let's see. I mean, he could add Nevada. I don't think he adds much past Nevada. It just depends on the other candidates in the race. Because, yeah, if you have Dean Phillips running on no labels, that's going to put Minnesota into play. That'll put Minnesota into play. You talk about other states becoming into play. Like, that's a good thing. You love to see it there. So, Trump, yeah, his lead did shrink. Where did the votes come in from exactly? Because the needle hasn't moved whatsoever, but more votes came in, I think, from Hanover they came in from, which voted just, Trump got 10% of the vote there in the 2016 primary. That was Kasich, Rubio, Bush country. I mean, this is not Donald Trump's neck of the woods anyways. He probably got completely shellacked there in the general election both times as well. So I'm not too worried about it whatsoever. Matthew Schneider says, Ultra MAGA, MAGA Trump 2024. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good night for Donald Trump. It's definitely a good night for him. Even if you want to say, well, he didn't win by 20. It's like, yeah, but he's getting in the mid-50s. He's getting in the mid-50s at the end of the day. They called it for him early. You have higher turnout. You had all these people crossing over and voting for Nikki Haley, but did they move the needle? They didn't move the needle. They didn't move the needle at all. And we've got 5,000 people watching, which is more than what we had during the Iowa stream even. So people are engaged. People are ready for the next set of primaries. And honestly, Haley sticking around to get embarrassed in her home state instead of dropping out after New Hampshire, you know, why not? I mean, she's just going to get embarrassed. It's like another month. Nobody that's voting for her in these primaries is a Republican anyways, so what difference does it make? I mean, by the time South Carolina rolls around, she probably could lose it like 80-20 at that point. So yeah, I'm sure like some of the DeSantis holdouts are going to say, well, Trump only won because of DeSantis dropping out, which is not entirely true, but it definitely did help Trump's margin of victory substantially. Same thing with Vivek dropping out. I do think that Christie dropping out, though, definitely aided and abetted Nikki Haley, because without Christie's support, she'd be down there in the 30s. So, yeah, Chris Christie dropping out is also a good thing. So, absolutely. 100%. But let's check the exit polls. Do we have any more exit polls in? We have exit polls in. Yeah, see, there you go. When it comes down to the are you a part of the MAGA movement, even 24% of the vote that said no went for Donald Trump. When you talk about votes by gender, Trump won men, and he also won women, which is also pretty funny. By age, Trump won Zoomers, as he usually has. According to these exit polls, he got 58% of Zoomers. But when it came down to millennials, that's when Haley started to pick up some steam. Now, these exit polls are showing that Haley's going to do worse than what the New York Times are showing, but I don't entirely know at the end of the day. But the 8% that said they were liberal, Haley won those votes like 70-30. She won the votes of people that said they were moderate, like 55-38. And then the conservative vote obviously went heavily for Donald Trump. So, yeah. This is pretty much over. That we know. Okay, Trump did not gain more out of the most recent vote dump, but he's still projected to win by 11 percentage points. So let's see. More super chats. We'll read them from the bottom up. Sam Madsen says, what percentage would Trump be at if Ron and Vivek were still running? He probably, I think, could still maybe pull it off, but I think he'd be down in the 40s, just like where he was before. Let's see. Grant Mandel says George Santos is at the watch party in Nashua right now. Well, it doesn't surprise me. He's been pretty politically active. Alex Sirico says, I don't want to see another neocon run as a Republican anywhere except Vermont or Massachusetts ever again. Those are the only places where that plays well. Yeah, I mean, if you're running for governor and you're like a centrist Republican, yeah, if that's the only, thing you can get in certain places, that's the only thing you can get in certain places. But, I mean, in most places, you need the best candidate who can win the general election. That's what you need to be putting up. So Cameron Campbell says, Trump, look at me, Nikki, I'm still captain. Nikod 2000 says, do you think Glenn McPeters still has a shot? Well, surprisingly, he has more votes than Doug Burgum. He has more votes than Tim Scott. I love the fact that Asa Hutchinson is down there at 0 raw votes. He's at 0. So that's pretty funny. So there you go. Kurterk7 says we talk about VP, is I think what he meant to say. But what about the cabinet? What should he look for? Well, we'll be going over that. I think it depends on the certain post. I think there's some posts where, yeah, you can put somebody in the cabinet who's weak at Secretary of the Interior, because what exactly does that position really deal with? But when it comes to things like your chief of staff, your lead advisors, your policy advisors, your Secretary of State, your Secretary of Defense, like those things matter. We could do like a tier list of position in the cabinet where it matters, but yeah. Austin Lewis is Trump Parnell 2024. Thoughts? Well, Parnell has, first of all, scandals. Second of all, he did not get elected to any office, so it's unlikely to happen. Miku Huntu 4X bot says, apparently Fuentes thinks you're boring. I don't. MAGA. Well, can't please everybody, I guess, can you? Let's see. We already did that one. Rodney Benfield says, I always love and respect what you're doing here, and you're on point. Haley has to bail before South Carolina or gets embarrassed badly. Well, she's not going to bail. She's going to stay in, and she's still going to get embarrassed badly. Either way, she got embarrassed. She got third place in Iowa, distant third place, couldn't even get 20% of the vote. Then she goes up to New Hampshire, spends all this money, successfully gets tens of thousands of Biden voters to vote for her, and she still loses in a state that Donald Trump didn't win either time in the general election. So she's done. She's cooked. It's over. She's got no pathway. She'd be smart to drop out right now, but because she's, got this insane level of hubris, let her stay in and get embarrassed in South Carolina. It's going to be another fun watch party. It really will. Like, let's have some fun with this. Let's just dunk on her. It's fun. So let's see. Thomas Willingham says Rubio or Blackburn for VP. I mean, Rubio, like I said, he's from Florida. Blackburn is, I mean, she's not really, I think, on his radar. I wouldn't necessarily think that it'd be unrealistic to think about, but she's not really on his radar. So H Post, thank you for becoming a new member. Alex Sorico says, I think Democrats win the House by a lot in 2024 because the GOP has given themselves nothing to run on. Republicans will add 1 Senate seat. Well, that's a little bit doomer-esque. I do think that Trump will carry a lot of people. I think people need to understand that Donald Trump will end up carrying a lot of people to victory in the House just by proxy of being on the ballot. And I think in terms of the Senate, yeah, I think you get Ohio. I think you get Montana. I mean, I assume the one seat you're talking about is West Virginia. I could be wrong, but I think they get at least 3. Maybe then you talk about Arizona. Maybe then you talk about getting a Nevada or a Michigan or a Wisconsin. And then like the next tier is Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Virginia, which again, New Mexico, the daughter of the former electoral juggernaut Republican that was there for many, many years is actually running for that seat. So maybe that one could be more competitive than people think. She's also self-funding, I believe, but I don't know. I really don't think it's winnable, but it could be closer than people think. So let's see. More Super Chats. I think that's it for Super Chats for now. Let's check the results. We have another one, though. Alex Sirico says, as far as the Senate is concerned, everything needs to go to Ohio. Don't bother with Nevada or Arizona or Virginia. It all comes down to Ohio. Well, I think you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't think Ohio is like unwinnable. Trump on the ballot, I think, makes Sherrod Brown pretty close to DOA, and I don't think Bernie Moreno is nearly as weak of a candidate as some people make him out to be. So H Post says, money has been tight. Good to be back. Time to coalesce behind Trump. This turnout is larger than Iowa because of Biden voters crossing over to vote for Haley. Well, that in the snowstorm. Hashtag Trump Vivek 2024. Well, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. John Waffle H2P says, Nikki just thanked our Lord for second place. Well, I also thank the Lord that she came in second place and not first place. So I guess that's a rare moment of agreement that I have there with Nimrata. But yeah, 24% of the vote is in. A lot of the vote is in from a lot of these liberal areas as well. Like you have like Concord is all the way in. A lot of these small little towns that went for John Kasich in 2016 are all the way in. Trump won. He's won in New Hampshire. The real question is by how much does he win by? That's another one. But we really have yet to determine that total. So let's see. Sam Madsen says we need to win at least one more Senate seat behind the big 3. We're likely to flip as I'm not optimistic about holding Maine or North Carolina in a 2026 Trump midterm. I think Susan Collins will hold on. I think North Carolina is a little bit more of a gray area for sure. I'd prefer Tillis to step aside and retire, possibly get somebody better in there, but we'll see. I'm not too worried about North Carolina either, but I mean, yeah, conventionally speaking, midterm year, it's possible that it could flip. Depends on who the candidates are. Joshua Hull for 10 says, Fox must be very disappointed. They've been campaigning for Haley. I mean, they have. A lot of them have, but we've been told that all the conservative media is in for Trump by a lot of these same people that have been supporting DeSantis, that have supported Haley. And either way, Fox has been pretty much either reluctantly on the Trump side recently, or they've been promoting Haley, and they keep putting Chris Sununu on the TV every 5 minutes, and it hasn't worked out well for them because Nikki Haley lost. She lost the primary. She will likely lose it by more than 10, possibly even closer to 15. And what that means is that Donald Trump goes 2 for 2 in these early states. It means Nikki Haley has zero mandate to expand her lead in any other state because she didn't even come close. It's not like, oh, the momentum is with me. No, it's not. It's not with her at all. So have at it. Have at it. Have at it. Trump is going to be just fine. Now we can focus more on the general election. Yeah, she's going to keep going. She's going to keep going. She's going to keep going to South Carolina, and she's going to lose in South Carolina. Let's see. Mega Kevin 1228 says Haley don't mention Jesus. The man suffered enough. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, yeah, she's definitely just posturing. She's posturing, and it's not working out for her. South Carolina is going to resoundingly reject her. That's like the first real primary that we will see. I mean, the first two states usually aren't all that representative of a country as a whole. Usually don't pick the winners, even though they picked the winner with Trump. But South Carolina, that went for Biden after Iowa and New Hampshire went for Bernie Sanders. And Biden was down at 9%. But you know what happened? He wiped the board in South Carolina. I believe he was close, or he won. I don't know. I don't remember what happened in Nevada, but Super Tuesday, he wiped the board with everybody. I mean, the betting odds were showing Bernie Sanders at one point to be the overwhelming favorite to be the nominee. But we know the Democrat establishment would never allow such a thing. So what happened? Joe Biden became their nominee. Even though he got 9% of the vote in New Hampshire and low double digits, I think, in the state of Iowa. So there you go. All right. Okay. Worldwide 1873 says, was this a large margin for Trump? It was not as large so far as the polls have expected, but it will be large enough for him to still gain momentum from it. H Post says Haley trying to gaslight that the DC establishment and are for Trump and against her is laughable. What a clown. She's not fooling anybody. Exactly. They try. Trump is the real establishment. Why is the establishment trying to indict him? Why are they trying to convict him for things that are not even illegal? Why are they trying to twist the law against him? Well, first of all, it's funny because it's not working. I don't know if you guys have seen the recent Harvard-Harris poll, but still. Alex Mongold says, I'm from West Virginia, and I'm so glad Jim Justice will win. He's going to win. H Posts corrected the super chat in another super chat. Thank you. I understood what you were trying to say, but I appreciate the extra donation. So I guess we're just waiting on more votes. This is probably the most boring part of the night. We're not even a quarter in to the vote count. We're still waiting on some big vote dumps to pour in. We still have more left in New Hampshire and Manchester. We still have a lot of smaller towns that have not yet reported votes. But one thing is certain, Donald Trump is the victor of the New Hampshire primary. SJ says, if Nimrata stays in to get humiliated in her own backyard, does that prove she's truly delusional or that she wants to damage Trump as much as possible? I think both. I think that she's got a ridiculous ego, which is funny because we hear so much in politics about Trump's ego. Yet when you look at literally every single other candidate that's run against him, knowing they have zero shot, what are they doing it for? They're doing it to boost their ego. It's a vanity project, and that's what it is. And all it's doing is something that's counterproductive. So they're letting their egos get in the way of, I don't know, a unified Republican Party ahead of 2024. And it has kind of been fun. I don't think the primary is really going to hurt Trump a whole lot ahead of the general election. The only people that it's really taken away are a bunch of anonymous accounts that were supporting DeSantis who won't even vote for Biden either. So have at it, I guess. Seriously. We want the votes of the voters. The voters who vote against Trump in the primary, yeah, unless they're these people voting for Nikki Haley that are registered Democrats. But in terms of the average DeSantis primary voter, they likely are nothing like these people that really ran DeSantis's campaign or ran his brand. So they'll gladly vote for Donald Trump. They will. I mean, a lot of people that were 2/3 of DeSantis's support from the onset of his campaign already came back to Donald Trump before the primaries even started. And you could look at the polls and it shows it. So, yeah, it's all in the data. Anybody who's a holdout is just not true. The only people that might hold out are like some Haley voters who probably never voted for Trump in the first place. So have at it. The Republican Party is going to be unified behind Donald Trump ahead of the most important election of our lifetimes. And I know we hear it a lot, but usually it becomes truer and truer. It really does. 2020 was our most important up to that point, but 2024 is more important. So Caesar Hurtado says Haley and her neocon donors are literally the Randy Marsh South Park meme, I ain't hear no bell, while getting their asses hit. Well, it's different because Randy Marsh is actually a likable character, whereas these people are just like perfect punching bags. So I wouldn't even compare the two. So let's see. Yeah, Nikki Haley, another L for the Republican establishment. Anyways, guys, like the stream. We're not done yet. We're only a quarter of the way done counting votes. Make sure we can get closer to 4,000 likes. Also, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Make sure you do that. We currently are knocking on the door of 160,000 subscribers. I don't know if we're going to hit it on this stream, but let's get closer. Let's make it happen. You want to use the live chat? You got to hit the subscribe button to do so. And then come back out and then go back in, and you can use live chat as much as you want, but no freeloaders on the live chat. But it only costs you one tap of a button, so why not? But Donald Trump defeating Nikki Haley so far by 5,000 votes. He had to, overcome a lot of adversity known as primary interference from the other side. But it doesn't matter because Donald Trump is the current front runner for the Republican nomination, and it's not even close. He's basically at this point the presumptive nominee. He hasn't got the delegate threshold yet, but I mean, he's gaining delegates every time, and that'll be the new cope. Well, Donald Trump is only ahead by like 17 delegates out of 1,000, and it's like, okay, really? Wait until Florida rolls around. Wait until South Carolina rolls around. California, I think, is winner take all, or it's like close to that. So like, let them try. It's not going to work out for them at all in the end the way they think it does, which is pretty funny. So Trump leads by 7. He leads by 7 over Nikki Haley, and that lead is going to expand as more votes get tabulated. So there you go. I'm sure the cope will be, oh, he didn't win by that much. And it's like, we don't even know what this electorate really is made of. And you look at it, and it's a much more liberal electorate compared to 2016 in every exit poll that we've seen. But it didn't matter. Trump is going to win by double digits in back-to-back primaries. And he's not even an incumbent president. You might say he's a former president, and that could kind of like, raise up his credentials in a primary, and it has for sure, but it's still a wide open field with a lot of high profile people in the field, and you didn't have any of that back in 2020. If you did, Trump would have probably not gotten in the 90s in terms of his vote totals, and he probably would have weakened himself ahead of the 2020 presidential election. So there you go. Let's see. On Point Politics says, hey, what's up, Rep? I'm streaming now. I hate that it's this close, but if she couldn't win here, Trump is going to clap her cheeks everywhere else. This is true. And he's going to win by double digits. He's going to win by more than 10. And that is really all that we know. I didn't anticipate the electorate to be as liberal as it is. I also didn't anticipate like Chris Christie to end up with a goose egg in the percent column, given early voting and everything like that, which I don't even know if there's that much early voting, given how low the DeSantis percentage is. But it's like, yeah, the DeSantis or bust crowd that we hear so much about is not there. Either way, it's not there. I mean, the 464, how many of those people like don't know that DeSantis dropped out yet? I'm sure a lot of them have no idea. So yeah, you talk about like 100 people per state that are in like the DeSantis only cult. Like they exist on Twitter in small numbers, and that's about it. I have more sway single-handedly on the general election than these people do. I mean, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying look at the sheer numbers of it. We've got, close to probably 200,000 pretty soon, and these people have like 1,000 people in terms of their full engagement. So have at it. Have fun. Have fun trying to sabotage Donald Trump and get Biden reelected because your feelings got hurt on Twitter.com. And like I said, that's not a majority of DeSantis supporters in the real world. These are a very tiny minority even of those. So there you go. But Trump, now they have it up to Trump plus 12, so they move the needle back to its original place. FM 32047 says James Craig and Kerry Lake winning in 2024. Book it. Well, we'll see. I don't think anything's guaranteed, but like I said, this is something that is still a positive development regarding the polling we've seen, regarding the fact that the party's going to be united behind Lake. I don't know about Craig, but I would love to see it happen. I think Trump doing better in Michigan is good for Craig's chances. Charles Sapp says, according to exit polls, 70% of Warhawk Haley's voters are not Republicans. I know, they're not. Kurtarek7 says, what about bring on a friend or colleague for the live stream so you could have a back and forth? Just a thought, love the content. Well, I've done streams with people, and we're going to be doing a call-in stream maybe next stream, so join the Discord if you want to be a part of that. You have to join redeaglepolitics.com, which is just 16 cents a day. It's $5 a month, and if you want call priority, you could become a pro member, and then you get access to the pro member channels, which will give you, fresh priority ahead of the live stream. So you don't have to sit there in the waiting room, and you don't have to worry about, am I not going to get picked on for the call? So Trump now, he's up closer to 8 points. There you go. Let's see. More super chats on the way. Ryan Campbell says, I know lots of people who are liberal and voting for Nikki. Also think New Hampshire Republican are very liberal, only have the New Hampshire GOP to blame. Well, also Chris Sununu, this is his Fire Festival too, because he was going on saying Haley would win New Hampshire, and then he backtracked it a little bit. But like, if you're so influential as a governor in your own party, and your candidate that you attach to you at the hip can only get, 45%, not even, in a primary in your own home state, that is majority non-Republican voting for her, and the officials of other parties, you have many cases where they've been propping up Haley, encouraging people to vote for Haley to weaken Trump. It backfired. It hasn't worked. Even if you want to say the margin's a little closer than expected, it doesn't matter. Technically, it was in Iowa, too. The polls were off by like 3 points, but out of 33 points, it's not really that much because Trump won by a margin that was basically within the margin of error. And this isn't really all that different at the end of the day. So it's like, yeah, Nikki Haley is done. She's cooked. She's finished. It's over. You can book it. Trump got 20, or you have 26% of the vote. Trump leads by 8. He's probably going to be leading by closer to 12 when it's all said and done. And he now leads by 8.1%. So 27% of the vote is in. Like the stream. Let's get to 4,000. Subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get to 160,000 subscribers. We're knocking on the door of our goal. So, next live stream for an election will be the Nevada caucuses, which will be taking place in early February. It's going to be a big week for Nevada. They got the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, I think the same week that they have the Nevada caucuses. So there you go. But yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to send them in via Super Chat. We'll be getting to them as they come in. But these results are good enough for Donald Trump. They're not earth-shattering. But apparently we see the exit polls. What do they show? They show liberals, people that claim to be moderates, but they're really just Democrats, voting for Nikki Haley, but it doesn't matter. Haley only got 25% of the conservative vote in a pretty liberal state regarding the Republican electorate. So there you go. I mean, she won among people who wanted to raise the age for Social Security. She surprisingly did about the same in the pro and the not so pro-Israel crowd. In terms of the pro-Ukraine crowd, though, almost 50% of the electorate was pro-sending aid to Ukraine, which is not representative of Republicans nationwide. It's not representative of Trump voters at all. And, I mean, Trump still even got a good chunk of the people that said that they do support sending aid. So, either way, there you go. Haley apparently did worse with women than she did with men, even though it was negligible. So, that's pretty funny. SJ says Haley's base is overwhelmingly not Republican because she's not a Republican. Watch the news media conveniently forget to mention who her voters are. Well, of course, they need to build up this primary. They don't like Trump for one, and for two, it brings in ratings. That's why they've been shilling for Nikki Haley. Is it making the difference? No, it's not making the difference at all. So there you go. But yeah, she's done. She's cooked. It's over. Donald Trump, another victory. Another victory, and more votes are coming in, and Trump is gaining in his vote totals. We still have 72% remaining. You have a lot of little towns that haven't reported any votes yet, though. But they're all likely going to come in heavily for Donald Trump. And that much is guaranteed. So yeah, the race was called almost an hour ago, it seems. But we don't have any new votes. But yeah, it's like she gets all these people to vote for her who aren't Republicans. It's like, can you even call that a victory? Because you can't do that in these closed primary winner-take-all states and gain anything for it. It's like she only got 19% of the vote in Iowa. And yeah, she got, 40-something, maybe the low 40s when it's all said and done in New Hampshire, which was her do-or-die state. And because she fell flat, the way that DeSantis fell flat in Iowa, where she couldn't even make it all that competitive, even though she's going to claim that she did, there's no momentum to gain for Nikki Haley. There's not. Trump won. He won both contests. He's supposed to do much better in the later contests than the early contests anyways. So all it's going to do is build more momentum, speed up the party unification process, and if Haley wants to stay around until Super Tuesday, be my guest. It's just going to lead to more embarrassments after more embarrassments after more embarrassments. Does she really want that? Apparently she does. Apparently she can't see the writing on the wall. So have at it. Oh well. But it's a joke. It's a very big joke. And as a result, we know what's going on. So we could talk about the general election. We could talk about Trump v. Biden pretty much the rest of the way. The primary was fun. I mean, it was. And I'm sure that Haley will stick around for a couple more races. I'll stream the primaries. I'll stream the primaries as well in the summertime for the down ballot races, which I think are going to be even more interesting for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people just come for the presidential stuff, but still, I mean, a lot of these Senate primaries, and hopefully they're not all that contested. I know Ohio's is early, which is a good thing. Montana's is a little bit later, even though it's not too late. And it's like, I'm not entirely sure that Rosendale's making the right move by running. I think that he's going to throw away his House seat. I think he's going to lose the Senate primary because he waited too long. And nothing good comes of him running for Senate. He should just run for re-election. But I like him a lot. I just don't believe he's going to get it done. So there's that. I mean, Arizona, is Mark Lamb even going to be staying in the race? It seems like the entire Senate leadership is coalescing behind Carrie Lake at this point, which is a good thing. She didn't have that luxury last time. How much money was spent against her in the primary. 10, upwards of probably 15 million in total when you factor in the rest of the candidates in the running were, spent against Kari Lake. And every vote matters, and demoralizing the Republican base or ruining her image in the eyes of many Republican voters, it was a coordinated effort. They'd rather lose with candidates that they don't like than win with candidates that they don't like but are actually good. So the GOP is still very, very broken in a wide variety of ways, and it's a very sad thing. It is. But at the same time, we don't need to be giving up the fight. Ryan Campbell says, what do you think of Kelly Ayotte for governor? Well, I'm not going to say I'm a giant fan overall, but at the same time, it's she's better than Sununu. She can win. She's favored to win, so why not? Susan Zalisco says, Nikki stay on for her payoffs. So you're basically trying to say she's just staying in it for the money. Well, she's burning a lot of money on nonsense right now. So yeah, whatever. Some troll in chat just said that these are disastrous results. How are these disastrous results? Donald Trump won. He's going to win by more than 10. Haley's done. Trump put up back-to-back performances in the first 2 states by double digits. That's momentum. You could say, well, the polls were wrong by a little bit, and they maybe were. But primary polls are usually more volatile either way. The bottom line is they weren't off by 20 points. We could look at the polls for New Hampshire for this primary, and you could take a look at them. And the polls showed Trump winning by 19.3. So did the polls factor in a late surge for Democrats or people that vote Democrat in a general election? Probably not. Should they have? Maybe, but you don't really know. You didn't really understand what the electorate would be like in that case. So I'm willing to kind of forgive polls being wrong by 5 to 10 points in that case. Now, if you go to South Carolina and it's a 10-point race, that's another problem. That would be an issue, but I don't believe that would be the case at all. I believe it's a close primary. It's a primary where Haley is going to get utterly decimated in her own home state, embarrassed. She'll be lucky to get a quarter of the primary vote in her home state, and that's going to do it. That's going to do it for her delusion. That's going to do it for Trump winning the nomination. So you want to say, oh, she gets to hang around because she didn't lose by 40? Fine, be my guest. She'll lose Nevada ridiculously. That state's going to be fun. She's going to ignore it in favor of South Carolina. Trump's going to take Nevada probably by 60, 70 points. Because now DeSantis is out. It's a caucus, which means there's no early voting. So it's a 2-person race, Trump and Haley. Trump's going to probably get over 75, if not even 80%. He was already getting 70% in the crowded field against all these people in some polls. He's probably going to get north of 80 in the Nevada caucus. And then when he flies to South Carolina late February, it's over. Michigan's primary, I think, is going to be, a week after or a few weeks after. That's going to be the one before Super Tuesday, and Trump's going to win there big too. He's going to win there even if Haley stays in the race. So I don't know what her end goal is other than to, weaken Trump or be delusional, but be my guest. It's not disastrous by any means, even if you want to say it's slightly underwhelming. Sam Madsen says 6% of self-described Democrats in this primary voted for Trump. Who are they? Well, they are probably people that think that Trump is uneluctable, or they happen to just be really ancestral Democrats. It's one of those two. Beaches says, I cannot wait to see Trump and Biden debate again. Well, if Biden even debates, he might try the basement strategy again. I don't think it'll work out very well for him. this time around because the national spotlight's going to be on him. And even if he was able to not campaign much and limit the amount of damage that he could do to his own brand, I mean, this time around, he's done damage in the White House, and that's what people are fed up about. So, yeah, every time he goes and talks, gives a speech, he just comes off as like somebody who is just like on the... you know what? I guess you would just say he's somebody that has low energy, but also is like angry at Trump. He's seething. Running a campaign seething about Trump is not going to win an election. If you want to win an election, you're going to have to bring something to the table. Even if you're running against Donald Trump, or you're at least going to have to be somebody who doesn't have an atrocious record. Biden's 2024 campaign is far worse so far than his 2020 campaign even. At least then you could kind of just rely on the fact that, oh, well, COVID is a major issue. You could rely on the Obama nostalgia. Like, all he has now is abortion. And Donald Trump is not an extremist regarding the issue of abortion in the eyes of a lot of voters. So I don't think that there really is enough for Biden to get a leg up on, unless there's some like massive economic turnaround or there's some massive anything. Rational Conservative says exit poll shows Haley won only 27% of the GOP vote. She spent millions in Hanover to flip Democrats to register GOP for the primary. Major L Nimrata. Yep, Major L. All she does is post L's. She posts L's. So guys, like the stream. We're almost to 4,000. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get to 160,000 subscribers. Let's hit our goal sooner than later. We are knocking on the door. If we don't get it now, we're probably going to get it sometime in the next few days or so. But yeah, she's not winning Republicans. She's getting trounced by Republicans. And the Republicans that voted for her probably are voting for Trump anyways. So it's independents that lean left, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a few independents that lean right, but either way doesn't matter. I mean, this is what happens. You don't have a Democrat primary. You basically have a primary where the entire state is voting in it. The entire state can vote. That's not like a registered Democrat, but most voters aren't even like that registered with a party. So have at it. Have at it. Enjoy your 12-point loss. Acting like you won, Nikki. Nimrada. It's not even Nimrata, it's Nimrada, because she's a Nimrod. She's a bird brain. She really is. Wants TSA to enter schools. Wants to dox the entire country. She's a disaster. So have at it. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens. It would be interesting to see what happens. Let's see. Just looking at regular chat as well. She won't quit after South Carolina. She's ridiculous. Well, we'll have to see if she does. I mean, there's a very good chance she doesn't drop out until after then. But, we'll have to see what result she gets. If she gets below 30 in South Carolina and stays in, she's just peak delusion. So, absolutely. Let's check the results again. Yeah, 32% of the vote is in. Now 33. Trump expands his lead again. He's up by 8.4%. Seems like Manchester's 68% of the way in. And Nashua is almost all the way in, and Trump is winning it by 7. It's a decent-sized city compared to New Hampshire standards. So all in all, a third of the vote is in. So you're going to have turnout north of or close to 300,000 votes, more likely than not. And you didn't even have that in 2016, despite there being a much more competitive primary. So, yeah, Democrats, liberals crossing over to vote for Haley. That's a majority of her support, trying to dilute Donald Trump's margin of victory, and he still wins by 10. Not bad. I mean, the poll showed him winning by more than that, but it's still a statement victory that builds momentum. So, yeah, all she's going to do is just drag on the primary, and that's about it. That's about it. So, there you go. And it's over. It is over. So, yep. Now, in terms of the open primary or whatever in South Carolina, it's not nearly going to have the same effect, more likely than not, just based off of the turnout from the demographic in South Carolina, which usually tends to be black voters who make up a majority of the Democrats in South Carolina. They do not tend to have very high turnout rates in regard to crossover voting in history that we've seen. So it is very likely that you will not see nearly as much of an effect of crossover support in the South Carolina primary for Haley. So she probably gets around 30% of the vote there, and Trump wins by quite a bit. So Alistair says, what states might Trump lose from his 2016 tally? I mean, Michigan's not a guarantee, and Pennsylvania's not even a guarantee. Neither is Arizona. I think Georgia and Wisconsin seem to be the most likely that were in the 2016 tally, but not in the 2020 tally. So we'll monitor the map. We don't have a lot of polling. We had that one Pennsylvania poll come out today that did not make Donald Trump look good, but at the same time, the poll also had Dave McCormick within striking distance of knocking out Bob Casey, and we know that's not true. We know Casey likely is going to underrun Trump. So, I mean, the early polls in Pennsylvania, they're not all that accurate usually, so I wouldn't read into it too much. But Trump is almost up by 9 again. We've got still 33% of the vote in, but more results are being tabulated as they do come in. Grant Mandel says, who is a model world leader for us to look up to? I like Viktor Orban a lot in Hungary. He cares about his people. He has a secure border, extremely low levels of in-migration. He also believes that we need to expand and grow families to sustain the next generation. And when it comes to the economic side of things, he's incentivized that. And Trump in his platform has kind of talked about that as well, which is something that's absolutely huge. And not a lot of people talk about Trump's Agenda 47, but it's important, it matters, and it's very, very solid policy. And it better be instituted, at least in some capacity, if he gets in, or at least he could try. I don't know if he's going to be able to pass all of it through because we know how these things work. But if he gets the ball rolling on some things, or at least changes the conversation about some things in these circles, that's absolutely huge. That would be more than enough. And a lot of these other people that have ran for president, they don't do that. They tout the Reagan-Bush talking points that are largely outdated, and it hasn't worked out well. And when it comes down to Trump, or when it came down to DeSantis, I guess he at least tried at times to throw in some like Trump-light talking points, even though it didn't really land well because he came off too robotic. But at least he would try. Somebody like Haley doesn't even try. A lot of these other clowns in the race didn't even try. I like Vivek a lot. He brings a lot to the table, I think, and him and Trump are actually working together on some policy. I think the new Trump coming out against like a crypto central bank thing or whatever, that was all Vivek. That wasn't even Trump himself. So absolutely. Cesar Hurtado says the GOP doesn't know how to win. They can win elections but don't do anything. They're like the bad guys from pro wrestling. They're intended to lose. Yeah, they're the Washington Generals of politics in many cases. They would rather just be there than do anything. They'd rather try to get the left to like them than do anything. And that kind of is the main problem that a lot of these people have. And they just want to placate the other side. Biden doesn't think this way. Biden doesn't have this Stockholm Syndrome type of mindset that a lot of Republicans have. And this is a problem. This is why they keep losing, because they have this mindset that just is abysmal. It's a train wreck for them. So, but yeah, I think Vivek should be in Trump's cabinet in some position. I don't know what position it would be. It's probably not going to end up being VP, but he'll probably be in some position in the cabinet for sure. Garrett Vranikar says, is DeSantis DOA in 2028? Yeah, I think so. He would not have been if he waited, but because he will be less relevant by then in total, and because he's kind of exposed himself as a weak candidate on the national stage, yeah, absolutely. H. Post says, total votes, GOP 103K, Dem 38K. This shows the 47K that have voted for Haley are largely Sununu Dems and neocons. Exactly. I mean, you're looking at this, there's no other explanation. Because on the Democrat side, you have not even a third of the turnout, despite it being a more Democrat state. And like in 2016, where you both had primaries that were remotely competitive, it was like, yeah, pretty much 50-50. You had some Dems crossing over for Kasich, some Dems even crossing over for Trump at the time. But now you have a lot of Dems crossing over for Haley. If you add the Haley vote totals, or at least like 60-70% of them, to the Democrat totals, you have them being even. If you add the Haley totals to the Democrat side, I believe the Democrats would have a sizable advantage in turnout. So Daniel Krieger says, hey, Rep, keep up the great work. Your coverage has been awesome. For some reason, New York Times says Carroll Precinct has negative 100 or 170 votes remaining to count, even though they have reported at 95%. It's probably just a tabulation error. I wouldn't read too much into it. It's not going to end up being anything that will affect the results either way. So, and like the votes remaining thing isn't always that accurate. I mean, I've noticed that throughout the years when you hit like this, it's like, where are the votes remaining? But apparently, like a lot of southeastern New Hampshire, like these places are all, there's a lot of votes for Trump remaining in places like Salem, places like Derry, where there haven't even been a single vote reported, but there's a lot of votes left that are at least favoring Trump in the model. So that's a good thing. We absolutely love to see it. This election is over. In the primary, it's over. The next big election, aside from like these other primaries that'll make a difference, is going to be the general. All the other races, including South Carolina, they're not going to be competitive. They're not. We don't have any polls, but that's the next big one. It's a month from now. I think it's a month from tomorrow or something like that. But there's zero shot. Absolutely zero shot. So Garrett Vranikar says, who will run in the Dem primary in 2028? A lot of people, I'm sure. You'll have people like maybe even Whitmer, Newsom, Josh Shapiro, maybe even John Ossoff. That's why beating him in Georgia in 2026 is a pretty high priority for that election there, because you get to knock off one of the Democrat frontrunners for 2028. Trent says Biden, quote unquote, won after sleeping in his basement and not campaigning. If Dems avoid the campaign again by swapping out old Joe for Michelle at the convention, can Trump beat her? Yeah, he can beat her. I just don't believe it's going to happen. But he can beat her. It's the same thing. Can Trump win if he gets convicted? If they put him in a jail cell? Yes. Because what wins the election is energizing people and getting ballots put in the ballot box by election day. It's not even so much about appealing to independents. I'm not saying messaging doesn't matter. I'm not saying don't touch third rail. I'm not saying that you need to touch third rail issues. But what I'm saying is all this talk about winning independents, Democrats don't care. They take positions on things that are unconscionable, and they still win. So I kind of don't want to hear so much about, oh, we need to win over all these people. No, you need to get people out to vote. That's what you need to do. And yeah, you should try to win people where you see fit. You should have conversations with people that are undecided. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but what matters most is getting the votes in the ballot box by election day and getting more than one vote than your opposition does in every single key state you need to win the election. That's all I'm saying. It's not that hard. It's not that controversial. It's 100% true. And that's what we need to do. So we're waiting on more results here. Trump's about to take a lead of 9 percentage points. But yeah, we have 3,500 people in chat. We hit 4,000 likes. I don't think we have the manpower currently to hit 5,000, but still like the stream. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. You get to use live chat. You get to be with us on our road to 160K, which we're knocking on the door of. And then from there, it's off to the races ahead of the 2024 election. But the primaries, they've been fun. They have been fun. Haley lost 0.1%. I don't know where it went. Probably to Chris Christie, who knows. But yeah, all these other people in the running. Yep, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that DeSantis and Vivek dropped out, because Donald Trump's margin of victory grew substantially because of that. Garrett Vranikar says, are Pennsylvania polls usually bad, or is Trump in trouble? No, they're usually bad, and that's one poll. Now, if you get 4 other ones that show the same thing, we can have a conversation about it, because that actually does matter. But you have polls that show Trump winning Michigan by 10, multiple. And everybody says, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, they're fake. The same people will say you have to live by and die by the poll in Pennsylvania that doesn't make any sense regarding the Senate race either. So it's like, look, I'm saying throw it in the aggregate, maybe, but I just like to see more polling before I say Trump's in trouble in Pennsylvania. And if we have to say Trump's in trouble in Pennsylvania, we also have to say Michigan's not even going to be competitive and Donald Trump's going to run away with it. And I don't believe that's the case either. So, yeah, Pennsylvania matters a lot. We have a long way to go. And even if that is the case, Biden's still well below 50 in that poll. I mean, Trump in the previous poll was within the margin of error. The only thing that's different is Trump went down, which, did Trump really lose 6% of the vote, or is it a poor sample? It's probably a poor sample. Carl Bruss says, if you had to pick one candidate for Trump's VP, who would it be, regardless of likelihood? Well, if you're talking about like the dream pick, it'd be like, yeah, you pick somebody like a Tucker Carlson, they're a successor. But realistically speaking, I don't believe Trump is going to go down that road. I just really don't. I don't think he wants a successor. I don't think he wants anybody who might be a little bit of an electoral gamble. And that's the way these things work. I mean, even look at 2016. He chose Mike Pence to placate evangelicals and, lifelong Republicans who were skeptical of Trump. So the real question for Trump now is, what voter base does he need to go after? What voter base does he need to placate and play to in order to expand his chances of victory? And, does he want somebody that has ties to the region of Pennsylvania or the Rust Belt? I don't see a lot of choices there. I think one of the reasons why people are floating Elise Stefanik and Lee Zeldin is because I don't think he's trying to win New York, but I think he wouldn't mind the margins being a little bit closer in that region, because Pennsylvania is right there for one. For two, the House is important. You want the House to win, and you're likely going to need to win New York by a decent amount to get there. So we'll really have to see what happens on that front. So, yeah. Listen to the Kerry Lake recording. We talked about it. We talked about the Lake recording. It's a travesty. They can't beat somebody, so they're trying to bribe them with $1 billion job. $1 billion. He said $1 billion. $1 billion in the recording. He said, oh, do you have a price? What's your price? She said she wouldn't cave. And I think that honestly helps her odds out because it makes her more admirable that, everybody says she's a grifter. She's a grifter, but she's turning down jobs for hundreds of millions of dollars. She's a grifter. She really just can't be bought is what it proves, and that makes me support her even more. So have at it. It's funny to see all the principled conservatives, quote unquote, supporting bribery now, so long as you're getting somebody out of the way you don't like. That's how they operate. They don't believe in principles, just like Biden doesn't believe in democracy. If he did, he wouldn't be trying to get his number one political opponent, the de facto opposition leader in the country, arrested. He wouldn't be doing it. But ironically enough, that's what democracy and this talk of democracy usually leads to. So Trump with a victory tonight, silencing some of the doubters who will find a new cope. They will find a new cope. Oh, it wasn't by enough. It wasn't by enough. It's too close. First of all, Trump's margin of victory is going to be expanded when results get tallied from places like Derry and some of these other cities down here. We know that. He's going to end up with over 55% of the vote. The downside is Haley doing well or better than expected at least. But, in the grand scheme of things, people need to understand that most of her voters are not Republicans. Democrats just overperformed in the turnout, which doesn't have any impact on the general election. It doesn't have any impact in most other primary states. And it proves that maybe this will be a wake-up call to get close primaries. Because they should be close primaries. Why do Republicans need Democrats voting in their primaries? They're just going to stir the pot. Even these semi-closed no, you need them to be closed primaries. You're either a registered Republican, or you're a registered Democrat, or you're not registered. But if you're not registered, why vote in a primary? And maybe you can register just for the primary if you lean one way or another. But still, it's ridiculous. There's no need for these primaries to be conducted in the way that they've been conducted for so long because they're so counterproductive, and all they do is just cause results like this to be closer than expected. But still, Trump won, so it doesn't matter. The only one coping is Haley. The only one coping are the people saying, well, Trump underperformed a little bit. He still won overwhelmingly. So, yeah. Oh, but he's a former president. Well, a lot of Haley's voters didn't vote for Trump when he was running for president in the general election. So that's out the window too. Trump won over 70% of New Hampshire Republicans, which tend to be more liberal. So there you go. Sununu is going to probably say it's a victory. He said she would win by a lot. Now he said, a strong second place finish, which, I guess you could spin this as a strong second place finish. She's going to get in the 40s against a former president. She's going to find a way to cope, but it's still a cope. Still spinning it. Seriously. Wait until Haley starts. Yeah, Haley's not going to get the VP. I actually think she would want to be Trump's VP because she's a snake. Because she's subversive. She'll praise Trump when necessary to try and get in his good graces. The only difference is now Trump gets it. He knows. He knows what she's made of. The people around Trump know what she's made of. The people around Trump now are far better than the people who were around him in 2020 regarding policy, regarding personnel, regarding everything. And I think that's one of the major reasons why I'm more enthusiastic about Trump now than I was back in 2020, where I supported him. But, I was like, at times, it's like the messaging was not fully there. Now the messaging is there. Now he's just going out there and he's doing his thing. And the energy, it's still there, but he kind of has become a little bit more reserved at times. He's become a little bit more softened when necessary. He's become a little bit more polished, but not in like a bad way, like, he's a career politician kind of way. He's still Trump, but he's more reserved, more calculating, more, he comes off more intelligent most of the time. which is a good thing. Of course, if you only see the clips of Biden putting him out, or Biden's campaign putting out these clips of him like stammering his words or whatever, it's just like, okay, well, that's like 2 seconds out of a whole 2-hour speech. And even then, you can still understand what he's saying, unlike Biden half the time. But yeah, the Biden bros, that's the final boss. You knocked out the DeSimps, you knocked out the Nimrods, you knocked out a lot of other people. Now you got to go on the offensive against Brandon himself, and I think that that's something that will galvanize a lot more people on Donald Trump's side. But yeah, he's not likely going to be running up the score in a lot of primaries the way he was in 2020 until South Carolina or even Nevada. That's going to be a fun one. But does anybody care about Nevada at that point when they realize that Trump is going to be the nominee? Are they going to show up? Hopefully they do. But still, Trump's going to be on the campaign trail, and I hope he campaigns a lot in Nevada, because campaigning now helps him later, helps him build support. If he's uniting the Nevada Republican Party behind him, he even got the endorsement of their, more moderate to liberal Republican governor, but that's still a positive endorsement to have, because that means a lot of people on the fence, they happen to probably like Lombardo, so they'll fall in line with Trump. So it helps out. Boom, there you go. Haley fell a little bit more even. 36% of the vote is in. They count like snails. We've been here all night. We're going to be here all night at this rate. Let's see. David Mendez TV says maybe Trump should consider Haley as VP. Yeah, it's not going to happen. There's no real benefit to that at this point at all. He's not going to do it. That was a gaslighting campaign from the DeSantis side of things. They tried to scare people into believing that Trump would pick Haley so they would vote for DeSantis. But in reality, Trump basically ruled it out, saying, yeah, probably not going to be considered for VP. Then he went on to say she's out of play for the VP slot. He went on to say that the media doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, which they don't. But let's see. Christopher Cow says it's a lot closer than I thought it would be. Well, it's closer, but at the end of the day, it's still a double-digit win for Trump. It still helps him build momentum, and this is the best that they can do, given the fact that all these people voting for Haley are not Republicans and will never vote Republican in 99% of cases. Truly Live 99 says, do you think a 2020 late counting will happen again? Well, the counting is probably going to go on for quite some time, but we just have to get enough votes to clear the threshold. That's basically what it is. I mean, Trump is going to go out there and he's going to have to win by a decent margin, and he can. The polls are on his side. The numbers are on his side. The American people are on his side. When he says, I have all the votes I need, he's not telling people not to vote like some annoying people on Twitter have claimed. He's telling people that we need to get out and vote, and then he'll win, which is true. He has all the votes he needs. I think Biden also has all the votes that he needs too, but we have to beat Biden. Democrats tend to be more, they tended to be more competent than Republicans the past couple cycles, and it's not because of Trump. It's not because of, well, this candidate is too closely aligned to Trump or whatever. Hell, half the Trump-aligned candidates, according to these people, don't even have that much in common with Trump at all on policy. Let's look at Dr. Oz, for example, in Pennsylvania. Bottom line was the alternatives were just worse in every stretch of the term. And one of them is about to get probably embarrassed this year. And I'm not even rooting for that. If he wins, he wins. I'm just saying that it's unlikely, and Republicans are going to put more resources than they need to into that race for that candidate to lose by probably more than Oz lost by, or at least close to it. So let's see. Christopher Cow says Vivek for VP is the best choice. Soaring Bum NM says Nikki for Gitmo. Luann Bowling says, will Republicans win the House, Senate, and the White House in 2024? I think that, yeah, it's a trifecta. If they win, it's a trifecta. If they lose the White House, I think they lose the House, and they probably get the Senate regardless. But, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a BOGO. If you get the presidency, you get a trifecta, at least if you're the Republicans. So, take it or leave it. Let's see. Do we have any new updates? No, 36% of the vote is in. Check the AP. AP actually has it at 35. I think they're on the same. They're on the exact same percentage. They've counted the same amount of votes, 112,000 ish. Thereabouts. TriStar says, do you think that if he targets it, could Trump possibly win states like Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois? I mean, it's entirely possible that he could get closer in those states, but I think only New Mexico of those 4 listed is even remotely winnable, and even then it's going to likely take a big third-party vote share. I mean, Colorado and Oregon are too far gone just because of the cultural aspects of the state. And Illinois, even if Chicago and parts of the Chicago area get redder, it's still not going to be enough. Ravino says, based Ben Shapiro endorsed Trump in 2024. Well, I don't like Ben Shapiro a whole lot, but at least he can see the writing on the wall, unlike some of these terminally online anonymous accounts for the DeSantis campaign that I suspect are actually doing Biden's bidding. They're in the hands of the left. They're not real people. There's a few of them that are, and they're deranged lol cows, and that's it. But yeah, Ben Shapiro, he is a establishment conservative. He is a neocon. He's a self-described neocon. He is somebody who did not support Trump even in the general election in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. And he probably personally might not like Trump as much as he will say on his show because he has to keep an audience, but at least he can see the writing on the wall. There are some people who just can't see it. And it's funny because any of these people that were shilling DeSantis against Trump in the primary ahead of Iowa that actually have an in real life following, they all have basically come around to supporting Donald Trump. Like, you look at Matt Walsh even, he's basically on board, it seems. Shapiro is on board, it seems. Like Tommy Lahren, some of those other people. I mean, there were very few of them to begin with in media, but the ones that were shilling DeSantis ahead of Iowa, they've all pretty much come around. Which, again, not a fan of all these people, but is it a good thing that they're promoting Trump? Absolutely, especially after they trashed him, so hopefully they can help get people on board who are a little unsure. Stingray says, do you think any campaign strategists watch your channel and take advice from your analysis? Well, I know that they do. Do I know everybody that does it? No. But there is a lot of people in politics who are not just like no-names that take note. I mean, I'm probably one of the most watched channels among conservative political campaign people, I guess you would say. Christian Page says, I've been surprised Fetterman supporting a strong border in Israel ever since his stroke. He's been making more sense. It's interesting. A great night for Trump. Well, I mean, Fetterman is somebody who got his brain back and then started to move right on the issues, particularly the border, most notably. And it's just like, yeah, he's slowly making more sense when he talks. He's still a liberal, but he's done enough where I think he's the clear favorite to win re-election, which at the onset of his term, I would not have said that was a sure thing, but now I think we can see it happening almost very likely, unless something happens between now and then in the state of Pennsylvania, or he reverts back to to his old rhetoric. And a lot of it is just rhetoric. I mean, he's not going to vote more conservatively in any way, shape, or form, but when he's been talking lately, he sounds more like a Joe Manchin than he does an Elizabeth Warren or a Bernie Sanders, which is kind of how he sounded a lot during his, not just his stroke, but his tenure as lieutenant governor. So Haley gained more. More votes came in, I think, out of Portsmouth, which that's her stronghold, but not enough to make a difference. We're still waiting on a lot of votes in a lot of these big cities like Salem, Pelham, Hudson, Londonderry, I think Derry. Like, there's a lot of votes left in a lot of places that are going to benefit Trump. So, just because Haley gained a little bit doesn't mean much. She's still down by over 7. She's going to be down by double digits when it's all said and done. More likely than not. Christopher Cow says, do you think Vivek for VP is the best choice? I think personally it's Vivek or bust. When it comes down to it, I understand why Trump wouldn't want to pick him because he's very similar in personality to Trump. And does he want somebody he's going to be constantly butting heads with? Does he want another, alpha dog type figure on the Republican ticket? I don't exactly know that he does. I mean, I think he wants somebody who will, not be an electoral liability, somebody who will not be extremely disloyal, and somebody who won't get in his way. I think if you're Trump, I don't think you worry about what happens if something happens to me, because at that point, it's over for you. The country's done. I think that as long as he doesn't pick somebody like a Haley or somebody who's outwardly offensive to his own base, he's going to be fine. So electoral liability, you want to minimize that, and you want somebody who will not get in your way of fulfilling your own agenda. Those are the only criteria that I think he's going to follow. And when it comes down to Vivek, I should say, he's a little bit of an alpha dog, just like Trump, and I don't know if Trump would, really work well with that, and he might view him as a little too similar to him, and he might want somebody that's going to be adding something to the ticket instead of taking something away for it. H Post says, gotta go studying for test and taking it tonight. Well, good luck. Thanks for your super chats. Thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate it, and good luck on your test tonight. So, absolutely. Let's see. People talking about Ben Carson being VP in chat, it seems. Yeah, Carson was a name that wasn't talked about a lot, and it's being talked about more, but, we hear all these reports. Trump's choosing Carson to be VP. It's like, no, he's not. He's weighing options, but he's not choosing anybody. I don't think Trump has made his mind up yet 100%. Do I think he has a front runner or two in his mind? Oh, absolutely. But I don't believe that he's set on anybody, and I think he's open to quite a bit. I don't think he's open to somebody like Haley, though. And I do think Noam was the front runner like a few months ago, and I think she's fallen out of favor somehow, some way. I don't know why or how, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, in terms of the VP picks, there's a lot of options he has. None I'm thrilled with, because I don't see the VP like I'm picking a successor. He's gonna need somebody who can get people on board with him, get people on board with his campaign, which I think a lot of people already are. He didn't need to make a VP pick before 2020 because he already had Pence. But if he was just running Trump and he was going up against Biden-Harris, but he was just Trump, it's at that point, what difference would it have made? So he has to weigh the options. What will maximize his electoral output, and how will he do that without picking somebody who would offend the base or get in his way? That's what he needs to be weighing when he considers his VP pick for sure. And I'm sure that's what he's using. Through Kang 1994 says, Trump Tucker ticket, let's go. I mean, as good as that would sound, I just don't realistically see it happening. I just don't. I know Trump said he would consider him, but I don't think that Tucker even wants the position. I think he'd be like an informal advisor. I think he'd be, somewhere in his administration, even like a chief of staff role or, a formal advisor of some kind that you don't have to like appoint through the Senate. But other than that, I personally think Tucker is not going to get the VP slot. It's fun to think about, and I would love to see him run for president one day. And I think he has the political clout to do so without serving any lower office. He's kind of an outsider. He's not like entirely identical to Trump on everything. And I think that he could even use that to his advantage in a general election even. But I think, it's probably going to be an outsider for 2028 because who that's currently serving in political office really has like enough of a base or enough support to just come out of the gate and be a clear favorite. And maybe we could talk about people like Hawley or Vance or some of those people, and I'm not opposed to supporting them, but in terms of them building a national brand, it's difficult to do. But I think, like, is there that outsider Trump 2016 type figure at all who would come in and who could like crush everyone in a primary? I think if anybody could do it, it would be Tucker Carlson. Now, maybe in the future, it'll be somebody that we don't even know about, we're not talking about, but that's how these things work. So, yep. Isaac Natal says Democrats came out in force for Haley tonight, causing her to vastly outperform the polls. Does this disprove your theory of Trump hatred fatigue? No, because you have to look at the Biden primary. And I think that Democrats just made the effort. They spent all this money trying to get it done. I don't think it disproves any talks of Trump hatred fatigue. I do believe that there is still a good portion of the Democrat electorate that will do anything they can to stop Donald Trump. I don't expect Trump to win New Hampshire in the general election, but do I think that they're like a majority of the electorate in New Hampshire? No. I mean, you got a few dozen thousand Democrats to vote for Nikki Haley that made it a competitive race. I mean, that's that. Luann Bowling says Vivek in 2028. Mr. Jimmy says thoughts on ceasefire beating Biden in write-ins. I don't believe that that's entirely true, is it? Doesn't seem like it's true. But yeah, Biden, they processed the write-ins for Biden. He's gaining votes as we speak. Charles Sapp says Noam has said that she is sick and tired of D.C. politics and is happy as governor. She may have written herself off the VP list. Well, it's possible. Or she got note that Trump didn't want to pick her, and then she got salty about it and made a statement about it. I don't know. Craig English for 20 says a woman will pull over some of the electorate. Elise Stefanik would be a home run hit. Yeah, I don't know how much it will make a difference. I mean, Trump doesn't have this woman problem compared to other Republicans at this point. I mean, he did better with women in 2020. I mean, he's doing better with white non-college women, which I think is his, the second most favorable demographic if you break everything down by race and education. So, and gender as well. So I don't know. I mean, if he picks a woman, is it going to help him out with like getting women on board the way that some people think it is? I don't know. I think Trump is probably better off just focusing on like exurban men or even like college educated men than like white college educated women, because I think that there's more of a chance for malleability in the male vote. But I don't think that he has to pick a woman or necessarily say that he can't pick a woman for electoral purposes. I think he needs to find somebody that could fill that void. Charles Sapp says Noam said that a couple of years ago. Well, then at that point, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, she clearly wants to be VP. She put up on the big screen when she was with Trump rallying Trump Noam, like it was like the VP ticket or whatever. And I don't think that sat well with Trump, to be honest. But I do think she's vying for it. But I don't think she's the front runner. I don't think she's going to get it as of right now. Things can change, but still. Stephen Bryant says, I always enjoy watching Red Eagle. Thank you. Well, thank you for the super chat. M says, just got out of class. Nice to see Trump smoke the Wicked Witch of the West. True. Also, what would the electoral map look like if RFK got Perot margins? I think it'd look pretty similar, but I mean, you probably would add a couple points to Trump, and then he wouldn't be getting the percentage vote he would have originally been getting. Because, yeah, he takes away from both sides. Perot did too, but Perot took more away from Bush than Clinton. It wasn't 100-0 like some people think, but he did take more away from Bush. Wyatt says, if Trump picks a woman as VP, it will cause him to lose steam with white men like in 2020. People are tired of identity politics and want to change. I mean, that's true. If he picks a woman for the sake of picking a woman, absolutely. But if he just picks a woman, is that going to cause him to lose the white male vote overall? Probably not. But I don't even know if he's committed to picking a woman, though, so we'll see. But, yeah, all right, we have 43% of the vote in. I don't know. How long do we have to keep doing this for them to even get to 50%? It's been going on all night long. We've been streaming for almost 3 consecutive hours. 3 hours, folks. 3 hours. That's incredible. Again, make sure you guys like the stream down below. Let's at least get to 4,500. I know we have the manpower to do that. Make sure that if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to do so. We are knocking on the door of 160K. I don't know if we're going to get it on tonight's stream, but we're getting closer. So if you're new, hit the subscribe button. Steven Kanizik says, before I head off for the night, may I just say that Trump won 69,420 plus votes. Nice. Well, he did clear that threshold. He clears it by roughly 3,000 votes, but I do get the joke. Thank you for the super chat. It's like you have all these people crossing over, and they're trying to catch the Republicans off guard, because I think a lot of Republicans just know Trump's going to be the nominee if they're actually Republicans. But is this really making a difference? It's not. Trump is favored to win by 12. There's a lot of votes left from pro-Trump areas that have not yet come in. And those are some pretty populated areas by New Hampshire standards. So we'll see. But a lot of the Haley votes are already in. A lot of it's cannibalized already. Sam Madsen says, in retrospect, did Gary Johnson even take votes from Trump in 2016 instead of Hillary because those voters seem to be hard blue in 2020? Depends on the state. I think in a place like Montana, they probably did. In a place like South Dakota, they did. But like in a place like Michigan even, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. So, oh well. He's up by almost 8 percentage points right now. 44% of the vote is in. He's going to win by more than 10. They tried to stop him. It failed. It didn't happen. It's over. So there you go. Let's see. RCP predicted plus 19. You predicted plus 22. That is true. I did overestimate Trump, although Trump's raw percentage margin is going to be close to where I had him at. I had him at 58. It seems like he's going to get about 55, 56 when it's all said and done. But I don't think that the polls anticipated the late surge for Haley or the late Democrat surge. When it came down to the Republican primary, or in terms of the Republican Party voters itself, the voters who happen to be Republicans backed Trump like 75-25. Those who were not registered Republicans backed Haley like 60-40. A lot of those voters are not voting for Trump in a general. A lot of them did not likely vote for Donald Trump either election cycle. So I'm not really too worried about it. it's going to keep Haley in the race for longer than expected. She probably was going to stay in regardless, and she's going to get blown out in her home state. So she wants to play dumb games. She wants to win dumb prizes. She can have at it. Cash Money says, what if Trump picks you as VP? It's not going to happen. I'm not 35, and I don't know if he even knows I exist. It's a non-zero chance. I know people around him do, but it's not going to happen. It's fun to think about, but it's not going to happen. You know, maybe in the future I could be on somebody's short list, or for all we know, making a short list, but we're not quite there yet. But, you know, you never know. So, yeah, we have to wait and see who he does pick. There's a lot of options he has, and I think he has a front runner, but he even said himself is about a 25% chance I pick them. So if the front runner only has a quarter of Trump support, then it's wide open. It is wide open. There's a lot of things that can happen because he's clearly not fully sold on anybody, or he likes a lot of people. So who knows what's going to happen. It's not going to be DeSantis, though. That much is true. Because, I mean, mainly because of the Florida thing. You can't pick somebody from your home state to be VP. And if you want to keep those electoral votes in that state, you just can't do it. Now, he might try to find a loophole. I just have not heard that talked about. And that's why I don't think he's picking anybody from Florida, not just DeSantis. Definitely the primary hurt for those reasons, but like I don't even think DeSantis would want it either. So, let's see. But yeah, that's it. 45% of the votes are in. We hit 4,500 likes, though. That's a bonus. That's a bonus. That's a good thing. But other than that, yeah, it's over for Haley. She's delusional enough to think it's a win that she lost by 10, but whatever, have at it. Might be the biggest polling miss so far of the primaries, and even then it wasn't even enough to get her within single digits, so have at it. Let's check the AP. There's no difference in the votes reported. They reported more votes. Trump gained. Haley fell. Now they're saying Trump plus 12 again. It was Trump plus 11. So, yeah, votes are coming in. Votes are coming in. Nikki Haley wins first loser, as somebody in chat just put it. Nikki's delusional. True. Let's see. Another super chat coming in. CPTR111 says, do you think Nikki Haley will drop out before South Carolina? She will get smoked like hot barbecue over firewood. Yeah, she will. She's going to probably get around 30%. And even that's an open primary. But it's like, yep, she's going to lose. She's going to lose big. Doomsday Machine says, if Trump wanted DeSantis as VP, why would he change his home state to Florida in the first place? Well, I mean, to be fair, Trump did that before he even ran for re-election the first time. So I would not say that. But in terms of Trump changing his home state, or in terms of him wanting DeSantis, he just doesn't want DeSantis. But that's not the reason why. M says, thoughts on Burgum being VP? I mean, because VP is like a figurehead role, I'm not entirely going to say I'm like 100% opposed. I'm not somebody who's trustworthy of Burgum, but if he picks Burgum, I'm not going to be like, this pick is terrible or whatever. You know, so long as he doesn't have like a role in subverting anything in the Trump admin. Greg B says, could you see Trump picking any Freedom Caucus House members as VP? I mean, if you give me a name, I could answer, but I don't think so. It'd be funny if he picked some no-name congressman or somebody that nobody's talked about. It'd be funny to throw the media and Twitter in a tailspin, but do I see it happening? Probably not as of right now. So, yeah, Haley has more votes than all the Democrats combined, I'm pretty sure. Democrats are combining for 46,000. Haley has 66,000. So, Tony says, what would get Haley to admit the obvious? Probably either getting shellacked in South Carolina or getting shellacked after that. I don't believe that Nevada changes anything. She could get single digits in the Nevada caucus, and she still, at the end of the day, is going to stay in until South Carolina, because that's what she's trying to bank everything on. So people act like Nevada doesn't matter. It's not a big electoral prize, but does it count? Yeah, you could look at this. Nevada has 26 delegates. The Virgin Islands have 4. There's going to be 30 up for grabs on February 8th, which I think, I could be wrong, it's a Thursday. It's a rare Thursday election. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, there's going to be 5 unallocated delegates, and they're probably all in New Hampshire, or at least 3 or 4 of them are going to go for Donald Trump. So yeah, it's another good night for Trump, even if you want to say that he underperformed some people's expectations, because it doesn't matter. He won by double digits. If he won by single digits, then the optics aren't as good. But he's probably going to win by double, and that's a good thing. So yeah, all right. Anything else? Any more super chats? The results that are going to be coming in are probably going to be more favorable to Trump, but we're going to be here for 3 more hours if we don't, if we just wait around for him. So I think we're going to end the stream at 10 o'clock Eastern, which would be 9 o'clock Central in Texas. So last call for super chats. If you guys have any more super chats, feel free to send them in. Otherwise, we're going to be ending the stream in 13 minutes. Patriot345 says, eat tacos while watching Haley cry. Well, it is Tuesday. I guess people are doing that trend or whatever. Rap stream is finished. I didn't know that. It would make sense. Everybody's getting a little burnt out from just waiting for the results to go from 46% to 47%. If you guys want to stay updated with the race, follow me on Twitter at redeaglepatriot, as I'm sure many of you guys do. Why is it on a Thursday? I don't know why it's on a Thursday. It just is on a Thursday. I don't make the rules. I'm not the chairman of the Nevada Republican primary. I'm not the governor of Nevada. I wouldn't know. CNN says poll workers are going home at 11 and resume counting tomorrow. Again, just a disaster. And it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change the fact Trump's going to win. But it's just dumb. It's like, why? Why would they do that? Lazy. This is never a problem before. This is 2024, supposed first world country, supposed first world superpower, and you can't count the votes nearly as fast in a tiny little state compared to the entire country of Brazil. Seriously? Robert Siganero says Lee Zeldin for VP? ? Love your vids. Thanks for what you do. Like I said, it's a viable option. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think he's on the short list. But I appreciate the super chat. Martin MDL says, wait, yeah, well, look, I don't even think they use them in New Hampshire, first of all. Second of all, I get the meme, but like, what's at play is usually different stuff, if you know what I mean. They're just counting the hand ballots, I'm pretty sure, up there. It's not going to move the needle. Trump's still going to win the primary, still going to do well. They could have everything in between. It's not going to make a difference. It's going to win by 11, if not 12, if not 13 probably. So, yeah. It's ridiculous that they take this slow to count, but again, New Hampshire lets the Democrats, they do. That's why it's close. It shouldn't even be close. Among registered Republicans, Trump won by a ridiculous margin. This primary's over. Greg B says no establishment Republican for VP. Well, I don't think he's going to pick somebody who's perceived as full MAGA either. I think he's going to try to strike a balance in between. Deviant Rider says, please give your best Barack Hussein Obama for the chat. Say it like Rush Limbaugh, Barack Hussein Obama. Well, there you go. Daniel Krieger says, if we had to give the reward for biggest laughingstock of the primary, metaphorically and literally, it'd have to go to Chris Christie. Easily. I mean, he was a waste. I don't even know why he ran. He ran just to say, oh, look, Trump wouldn't give me a job. That was his entire campaign. It's Trump wouldn't hire me, so therefore, Trump bad. I'm going to try to act like a resist lib. Vote for me. I don't have any policies, but still vote for me because Trump bad. And Trump obviously has like an 80% favorable rating in the Republican primary field. I think another 10 to 15% are like somewhat disapprove of Trump. So, yeah, good luck. So, yeah, it's not going to be MTG. She's not even that good lately. Like, it's not like she's like not going to be in consideration because she's like too, far right or whatever. She's been like caving on a lot of things. She's been simping for McCarthy like crazy. Okay, well, now we're getting votes. 50% of the votes are in. All right. Yeah, I'm shocked Christie stayed in. He didn't pull a Kasich. Kasich was in it for the food. He would go to all the buffets. He stayed in until, I think, after Ted Cruz dropped out even, or like a few days after. And he was like below Rubio in delegates even when it was all said and done. And Rubio dropped out like a month and a half before he did. So at least Rubio knew when to drop out. Haley doesn't. So, yeah, I mean, where did the votes come in from? Some of these places, Rochester, I thought we already filled in Rochester. I don't know. But either way, I think Manchester dropped more. That's what caused Trump's lead to grow. So there you have it. Do we have a county map? I'm imagining Trump is up in pretty much every county. But I don't think we have a county map. At least not on any of these major outlets. Charles Sapp says, Decision Desk is 55% reporting with Trump ahead by 12. Well, that's good news. He's about to take a 10-point lead regardless. He's up by 9.6 percentage points. He's going to be fine. He's going to clear the threshold. I told people they just needed to be patient. Isaac Natal says, is there any place for moderate or centrist Republicans in today's GOP, or do they all need to be purged in today's party? Well, it depends what you mean. If the governor of Massachusetts is a moderate Republican because that's all you can get, I don't think it's a bad thing in and of itself. Now, my problem is when they decide to nationalize themselves and just like attack the based party leaders for no reason or virtue signal nonstop to the left, like that's the stuff that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with somebody in a state that is moderate that can't do anything not being, as far to the right as somebody that's like a House Freedom Caucus member. I think that there's a little bit of an understanding for nuance, but still, I wouldn't want to make those people president. I don't want those people becoming voices in the party. Let them do what they have to do, but they're the exception to the rule. And as the Overton window shifts in this country overall and we take back our institutions, hopefully they would be the types that would move to the right or get on board or whatever. So Berserker Biker says, do we have any Never Trumpers in the House? Not here. Not here. Probably a couple, but I don't think so. We get trolls occasionally. But they usually get BTFO'd by the comment section and or the moderators. So, yeah. Trump is up by 9.5%. We got 6 minutes to go. Make sure you guys, like I said, like the stream. I don't think we can hit 5,000, maybe after the stream is done because I'm going to leave it up. But like the stream. Let's get to 5,000 likes or close to it. F. Marion says Vivek for VP. Well, we'll see. We'll see what decision Trump makes because it's his decision ultimately. It's not anyone's decision. It's going to be a lot of fighting for who Trump should pick, but in reality, the only fights that really matter is Trump versus Trump. And I guess people can try to, sway public opinion one way or another, but I don't think that I don't think that they're going to be able to do it in any meaningful way. So we'll see. Let's check this. 51. We finally got to 51%. We finally got to 51. Finally. Just barely, but finally. So there you go. How does Nikki have 44.5? Because most voters in this primary are not registered Republicans. So take it or leave it. A lot of Democrat voters voting for Haley. Part of it, I think, is because they want to weaken Trump because they know that Trump is formidable. Which, you know, in 2016, in some places, you had Democrats crossing over to vote for Trump because they thought he was beatable, but it kind of throws a wrench in the whole, like, electable narrative of, oh, Trump isn't electable. Well, you know, we'll have to see come election time this November, but Trump gives you the best shot. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you. So Trump on, some people are saying that Trump is up by more on like Decision Desk or whatever. I don't know if that's true. Andrew Mortensen says 5,000 likes for the most base channel. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat. And it's true. Me says, let's go, Brandon. Thank you. And again, guys, we're knocking on the door of 160K. You got to subscribe if you're new before you go, if you haven't already. And if you have subscribed, you don't want to miss any future videos or streams. You got to hit the bell for notification. So make sure that you say all notifications, not personalized, so you don't miss anything or you won't get a notification. So there's that. Hit the bell, subscribe, hit the bell, and hit the like button as well if you are subscribed and haven't done so yet. We're at almost a 4,800. I don't know if we're going to get to 5,000. Do we have the manpower for it? Maybe not. But still, Trump is up by 9 points. He's up by 9. That's with Democrat strongholds still reporting votes for Nikki Haley. And yeah, you heard that right. Because a lot of the Democrats that are voting, they're voting for Haley. And it's going to backfire. It was not enough. All for nothing. Wow, Trump won by 10 instead of 20. Oh no, it's over. Okay, now Trump leads by 9.1. So yep. It's over. Haley's going to stay in because of this, but she's only going to get clowned on. It's not going to move the needle. Her campaign is on life support, kept alive by literal Democrats in a blue state. Have at it. Seriously. Go for it. just like whatever. Aaron S. says the radical left hates America. And again, this is the last final call for Super Chats. The final call. We're going to end the stream in like 3 minutes. So, like the stream before you go. We want to get to 5,000. But 52% of the vote is in. Donald Trump has won the New Hampshire primary. If you have any more Super Chats, now's the time. Feel free to send them in. But other than that, we're gonna dip in a couple of minutes or so. So, like the stream before you go. We're knocking on the door of 5,000. Can we get to 5,000? I don't know. We're getting close. We're about 126 away. Somebody said Trump's at 104,000 votes on Newsmax. All right, I'm gonna check Decision Desk. Oh, he's at 108. I don't know exactly what's reporting. That's different. But here, I'll pull up Newsmax, or not Newsmax, Decision Desk. Yep, Trump is up by more than 10. 59%'s reporting. New York Times has fallen behind. But yeah, Trump leads by 11. So there you go. Stephen Adams for 2 says, America, Patriot 345 says, who is the best candidate in your district? I honestly have not done the specific research. If you're talking about congressional districts. Aaron S. says, I love Mr. Red Eagle. Very smart guy. The great Mr. Red Eagle. Well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the 5, your 10th super chat. According to YouTube, they finally have put up the designation for people super chatting there. They put up the counter for like milestones. So yeah, 4,900. Can we hit 5,000? We're going to stay on until we hit 5,000 because it's already 9 o'clock and we're watching the results here for the New Hampshire primary still. Andrew Mortensen says, yesterday was my birthday. My birthday wish is that this channel gets 5,000 likes tonight, 200K subs in a month. Oh, and MAGA, love you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you as well for the super chat and for your support and for everybody's support tonight. But yeah, 5K likes, I think it's doable. We're 45 away, but 200K subs within a month? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We want to hit 1 million by the year's end, so we better get going on that sooner than later. But anyways, I appreciate it. Happy birthday as well. Thank you for the super chat. Mega Kevin 1228 for 2 says Red Eagle for VP. Like I said, probably not going to happen, mainly because I'm under the age of 35. But you never know. One day I might get into politics in terms of electoral politics. I feel like there's not a lot of people who know the ins and outs of the electoral sides of things more than I do when it comes to this type of stuff. But who knows? There's a lot more than just knowing what a map is and how a map votes to campaigning, but it definitely gives us a start. And there's a lot of people whose campaigns struggle because they just don't get the ins and outs of it. So we hit 5K. We hit it. We hit it. And I think that's going to do it for the stream. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you guys still like the stream if you haven't before you go. Subscribe before you leave. Hit the bell if you're already subscribed. And, well, I'll see you guys with the video tomorrow. Another big win for Donald Trump out of the state of New Hampshire. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.